our story's hero, Rent, holds a piggy bank in his hands as he focuses on dispersing his power. You see, the gift granted to him by God is not a skill that allows him to use a sword, magic, or healing. Right now, while the rest of his teammates fight for their lives, they call out to him as Rent finally unleashes his skill, magical power lending. With that, what seems to be glowing bills disperse from his piggy bank and attach themselves to his teammates' bodies. As soon as it did, they felt an instant power-up. A swordsman feels all fired up, and with just one swing he takes down the monster using his skill, Severing Explosion Strike. The output was insane. It almost blew Rent back as well, while the rest of his team checked if the enemy was still up. Obviously it's not. These three are the swordsman Kai, the advanced mage Misa, and the healer El. Ella fawns over Kai at how amazing he is, and we can also tell he's every bit of a textbook bastard from that smile and stance alone. Misa even dares to say that this mission was pretty easy, which is pretty ironic, seeing how she was just hurrying Rent to lend Kai his power earlier. Meanwhile, there's Rent who's still on the floor, looking up at his teammates, especially with how Kai took the enemy down with just one hit. Unlike those three who have the skills of the usual adventurer, Rent's job title is Magic Storage. Let's wind it back to how it all began 5 years ago. In Alto Village, where they all came from, Kai was the first to brag among the others that he was gifted by God with swordsman. He happily shows off his job title just as the other kids hype him up. It's still a D-ranked adventurer class, but who cares? Kai always knew he was destined to become an adventurer. One of the kids, Goro, felt a little jealous since he was gifted as a blacksmith. That doesn't sound too bad in Kai's opinion, though it's pretty obvious he's mocking Goro. Still, Kai vows to take over the world with Goro's weapons, even though the latter pretty much wants to go on an adventure. Then there's Rent, who sits quietly, patiently waiting for his turn. You see, in their world, when a person turns 15, they undergo the rite of adulthood, where God grants them a gift. Little Rent hopes that he will also be gifted with a skill to allow him to go on an adventure. Suddenly, Misa appears and tells him that his name was called, so our guy hurries over to the cathedral. Just walking down the church aisle with the clergy on the pews just shows how solemn this rite is. Rent can't help but compare how it's way too different from the usual church. At the altar, Father waits for Rent, holding a leather patch in his hand. The older man hands the leather patch to our guy, instructing him to pray in the center of the altar's light as he does so. Rent did as instructed because, according to Father, our would-be hero will receive a revelation from God shortly. Moments later, Rent emerges from the building with Misa, Kai, and the rest of the kids, eager to know what his skill is. Rent shyly shows off his leather patch, saying the priest was shocked that Rent received an S-rank gift. Upon hearing that, Kai's smile dropped while Misa grew curious. Kai didn't want to believe him, so he snatched Rent's leather patch from his hands to check if our guy was telling the truth. What the heck did he mean by an S-rank gift? The other kids also began to crowd around them, eager to see what was happening. But Rent's skill is the real deal, as Kai and Misa saw that it's written that Rent's skill is magic storage. What's more, his magical power value is a whopping 1200. The usual range for the other kids was from 13 to 20, and then Rent already has a god level of 1200? Come on. Kai could barely control his anger, or maybe it was jealousy. Kai has only 5 MP after all. He asks Rent what his ability is, so Rent explains it to them in layman's terms. He can lend magical powers to others. What the? Kai almost shouts at him, asking if others can use magic freely if they borrow Rent's power. Misa joins in, singing praises to Rent. She's all googly-eyed at how Rent has an S-rank skill, which is pretty rare in itself. The image of Misa congratulating him made Rent blush and happy. But you see, Rent's skill is more than just lending. Let us break it down for you. Lending is only one of the many abilities of magic storage, although the core of this skill is what else? The ability to store magical power. Magical power, by description, is the energy source consumed when people use their skills. This power they consume automatically recovers through rest or sleep. However, it's important to note that everyone has a maximum limit that they can't exceed. In Rent's case, he can store the surplus of his magical power beyond the limit of his magic storage. For the current 15-year-old him who has 1200 MP, the storage capacity is also the same amount as his max magical power, making it 2400 MP. Later that night, as Rent lies in bed, he wonders if he can master such a skill like this. After all, no one ever taught him how to use it, with others saying magic is heavily reliant on one's imagination. That's when he noticed the piggy bank sitting innocently at the top of his headboard. This old piggy bank was the one he used to save money when he was younger. He takes it into his hands and imagines placing excess magical power inside the item. Before long, the piggy bank starts glowing as what appear to be magical wads of bills are being absorbed by it. Now that he remembers it, Rent does have experience saving up. Instead of copper coins, our little guy will start saving magical power in this piggy bank. The next day, while out in the woods, Rent uses his lending skills for the first time with Misa. She instantly feels the power coursing through her body, while Rent explains that for her to return it, she needs to tap the piggy bank and imagine herself depositing magical energy into it. Misa did as he instructed, and it worked. Just then, Kai takes the piggy bank into his hands, scoffing at how ridiculous it is. Rent, the ever-patient one, explains that it's a piggy bank, and it's also the best shape he can imagine for his magical storage. Just then, Misa asks Rent if he wants to go on an adventure with them. Both Misa and Kai are rank D, but they're already planning to register their party at the City Guild tomorrow. As for the fourth member, well, they'll just find that someone later on. Rent couldn't believe it. Is it really okay for someone like him to join them? This kid seems to have forgotten that he surpasses them big time, but whatever, do it for the plot, I guess. Suddenly, Kai's attitude changed drastically, getting all touchy with Rent since the latter granted them practically unlimited magical power. Not unlimited, it's 2400 MP to be precise, BT. Plus, Rent reminds them that they need to return their power once they borrow it, which Kai agrees to far too quickly. Besides, Misa remembers what Rent always said back then. Didn't he want to live a life full of excitement every day? Rent nods his head in agreement, so with that he asks if they have a party name in mind. Kai already has one, of course. They will be known as the Skycleaving Sword because one day they'll become a sword that can even cleave the sky. Not gonna lie, that name is peak in my opinion. But Misa's a little embarrassed at how ambitious it is, so she asks if he could reconsider the name, and the two guys are already on board with the name, so too bad for Misa. A while later, the D-rank healer, L, joined them, marking the start of their adventure as the Skycleaving Sword Party. It's already a given that their party ranked up at an impressive speed. With Rent providing everyone an abundance of his magical energy, the rest of the party members used their skills to defeat the monsters that were way ahead of their leagues. The total magical energy of their party equaled their combat strength. It didn't take long before news spread far and wide about the reputation of the Skycleaving Sword Party. Even in this unknown bar, the patrons start talking about how the party rose from rank F to rank C in just 2 years, with many believing they're the fastest group to advance in this region. Meanwhile, a bystander listens in on these men's conversation, taking note of this esteemed Skycleaving Sword Party. Speaking of the Skycleaving Sword Party, here they are now, all polished and well-equipped. What the rumors say is true. The three of them, Kai, Misa, and Ella, are all rank C adventurers now. With this recent promotion, Kai decided to buy a new set of armor, even for Misa and Elle, who were too happy with their new wardrobe update as well. Then there's Rent at the back saying his clothes are still the same. Take note, our guy has still been wearing starter equipment for the last 2 years. Kai counters that he's fine just the way he is, and it's not like Rent fights on the front lines anyway. Despite having an S-rank skill, Rent falls short at being an adventurer since he's still rank E. As if to rub salt into his injury, Ellie tells our boy that he needs to wash his clothes because he's starting to stink, with Kai laughing along. The nerve of these two. As the three of them walked confidently ahead, Rent stayed walking behind them, with his head low. Compared to them, he's the lowest when it comes to growth and progress because of his skill. Magic power lending is based on one core rule. When you lend your power, you must reclaim it later. In his case, well, everyone take a guess, Rent couldn't reclaim his powers as we're about to see right now. Rent calls out to them from behind, reminding them of the power he graciously lent them. What he got instead were glares from both Misa and Kai. Easily intimidated by the two, Rent tells them to drop it. Now he can't say the things he used to say anymore. Back when they were equals, he could speak freely. How ironic, he can't even say they're equals anymore. The three of them walked further away from Rent, increasing the gap between them. As our guy realized that as people grow older, their perspective and their thoughts change too. Fast forward to now, their party is in the middle of a battle. Elle uses her body enhancement skill on both Misa and Kai. A giant goblin attacks Misa with a giant hammer, but the latter evades. She counterattacks the monster with her flame cyclone, which almost blows the monster back. Then Kai steps in, gritting his teeth as he unleashes his Void Strike to deliver the finishing blow. An instant kill. Three of them look down on their fallen enemy, with Elle happily claiming that this lineup is a guaranteed win. Misa comments that the boss monster was flimsier than she expected. Right now, the three of them are all advanced in their respective titles, and oh yeah, they're all rank B with MPs hitting the 4-digit mark. Then, there's poor Rent at the back, happily clapping over his teammate's victory. But rather than acknowledge our guy, the trio just walk past him so they can head back to the guild and submit a quest report. They were already thinking of what to do next, but Rent cast one last glance and noticed a treasure chest among the rubble. This is where he made one of the biggest mistakes in his life. Rent calls out to the others, saying there's actually a treasure chest inside. Of course, the others were quick to do a U-turn for it. Now, for Rent, well, if it's any consolation, they always say rejection is redirection. Later that night, rain poured heavily, and at the inn where the Skycleaving Sword Party was staying, the three of them broke the news to Rent. Our guy couldn't believe what he heard. Huh? Did he hear that right? Kai snobbishly tells him not to make him repeat himself, but he does so anyway. For their party to reach greater heights, the three of them decided to add a new adventurer to their team, thus reforming the Skycleaving sword's second version, and this time without Rent in it. Kai flat out tells him that they're kicking him out. Rent's on the verge of a breakdown because, what do you mean he's out? Is he not worth staying on this team, and why so sudden like this? That's when the three of them showed off their matching bracelets. Wait, Rent knows those bracelets? Those were found in the treasure chest he spotted earlier. Kai fills him in, saying they took the magic items at the shop for appraisal, and the shopkeeper couldn't believe they found such rare items. According to the shopkeeper, the bracelet restores the wearer's magical power, and it recovers up to 1,000 units of magic power per day. Since they already have 3 of those, Kai says their total is more than the amount of magic power Rent lends them. Misa adds that they want magic power, and they don't care where it comes from. Rent tries to buy his way back into the party, saying if that were the case, then with the items and his skill, their party could surpass 5,000 magic points. So it's practically unlimited magic power, right? Instead of answering, Kai gets up, with Rent's pleas still being heard in the background. Is that so? Well, they ought to test it out then. Suddenly, Kai grabs Rent by the neck and lifts him in midair, choking him deliberately, as he tells the latter to break free from his grip. Naturally, poor Ranky Rent can barely breathe and can't even put up a fight, as Kai resents him for daring to talk back, given how Rent can only use magic. Poor Rent is literally fighting for his life, gasping for air as he cries and chokes on Kai's grips. Meanwhile, the latter relishes this desperate look of Rent's before finally letting him go. Rent falls on his butt. Meanwhile, Ella laughs at him and Misa mocks him for being so weak and pathetic. Our guy is in a daze, still trying to catch his breath when Misa glares at him for that stupid look on his face. Does he really think their group will take pity on him? For what it's worth, Misa also agrees with what Kai said. By this time, Rent has heard enough. He bolts straight to the door with Ella happily bidding their deadweight goodbye. Finally, they got rid of him. Kai couldn't be any happier, and Misa too. She says they should have ditched Rent ages ago, causing Elle to laugh again. They're so cruel, especially since the two came from the same town as Rent. Outside, Rent finally slows to a walk as he stands under the pouring rain. He can still remember how Kai choked him while the two girls looked on. Our guy clenches his fist in frustration, remembering how he couldn't do a thing at that moment. This gift that was granted to him, this magic storage, was even ranked S and one of a kind, which amazed everyone. Despite all of this, Rent remained at the back, silently lending his party mates his magic power. Rent throws the piggy bank in frustration, muttering about how he never even wanted this gift in the first place. But then again, those 3 bastards dared to call him useless? And they even kicked him out for that very same reason? If that was the case, at the very least, all the magic power Rent lent them, he wants it all back. Every last drop! He cries out in anger and frustration in the middle of the street when suddenly, Rent hears a ping, informing him that gift evolution conditions have been fulfilled. The voice continues to tell him that his skill, magic storage, has evolved into infinite magic storage. Wait, what? But that's not the most shocking one of all, because out of nowhere a fairy appears calling him master, and congratulating Rent for his gift's evolution. The little runt beams, congratulating her master for the level up. Rent can only stare as this tiny being rambles on about how she's been wanting to meet him for the longest time. She finally turns to him full-on drama queen, as she can't believe it took Rent 5 years since the coming-of-age ceremony to rank up his skill. Wait, could this tiny being be a gift fairy? She beams, saying Rent is correct. Now that he remembers it, the priest did tell Rent back then that there exists a fairy who supports those with a unique gift. He just didn't imagine that it would turn out to be real. The gift fairy suddenly became polite, bowing her head as she introduced herself as MP the Magical Planner. She flashes him a smile, and seeing her like that, even our guy finds her cute. Anyway, she's more concerned about why Rent's getup is like that. What the heck is up with that miserable outfit? She pulls an abacus out of nowhere and starts calculating the value of his clothes, starting with the iron vest, then the tattered cloth and pants, and those outrageous sandals. His whole fit amounts to a mere 116 gold. If he's looking like that, MP tells him that no one would take him seriously then. She starts scolding him, saying that if he was going to lend people magical power, then he needs to look the part. Rent can only take what she throws at him, seeing it's the first time he has had to deal with someone this small with a strong personality. But anyway, Rent's more interested in what she said earlier, evolution. Now that he mentions it, MP suggests he confirm it with his own eyes using his parchment. Rent takes it out as she suggested, while MP continues that once the gift evolves, the information on the parchment automatically updates. True enough, the name of his gift has changed. It has become Infinite Magic Storage. This makes sense because he remembers Kai and the others also had their gifts evolve back then during battles. But hey, what is that? It says on the paper that his rank is SSS. Is that higher than an S rank? MP can only laugh and directs his eyes to something more important written on the paper, which is the infinity symbol. MP tells him that from now on, Rent won't have to worry about capacity because he can now store unlimited magical energy. Cue Palpatine's voice. Unlimited power. While MP is busy adoring Rent's piggy bank, our guy is gobsmacked at the limit of his skill. It doesn't have one. Since they're still at it, MP explains that the infinite magic storage has two conditions for evolution. The first one is that a certain amount of magical energy must have been lent. For the second one, the skill user must cry out from the very depths of their heart with a true and intense desire to reclaim what they just lent. Oh ho, so now Rent understands that it must have stemmed from that shout he did earlier. These conditions can be easily fulfilled by any normal adventurer, no? And yet MP can't help but wonder why her master took 5 years to do that. Upon hearing her, Rent starts stuttering, saying it's not as simple as she thinks, but the latter is not buying it. In a defeated voice, Rent tells her that he's afraid of everyone, which is why he endured it all. To be fair, the three of them always focused on what benefited the team, but whenever Rent asked them to repay the powers he lent them, they would tell him that they needed to stop going on adventures for several days, thus affecting the team's growth and progress. Hearing him say it like that, those three are really bona fide gaslighters and manipulators. As for MP, all she can say is that her master is too kind. Rent almost felt better when he heard her say that, but MP actually meant it as an insult. What a rascal. Anyway, she wants them to finish the status check from before, with Rent looking at the parchment to see if there are any other updates. That's when he saw those numbers, 2,678,087. And there's another one much longer below, like a telephone number. What's up with these numbers? Well, MP tells him that those numbers are the total amount of magical energy Rent has lent to the Skycleaving sword. That's a pretty hefty number, with MP adding that it's about 5 years worth of lending. Furthermore, MP explains that the number below is the amount of magical energy that he can collect now, totaling 1,435,837 MP, and that this value is the energy that has been lent for over a year. Simply put, it's a new skill of his called Force Collection. With this, Rent can forcibly retrieve magical energy from the debtor. Wait a minute, so does this mean he can retrieve all the magical energy he has lent out? Upon learning this, there's that delirious look on his face, something MP enjoys seeing. That's the face, that's the exact expression her master should be wearing. This sadistic little, I knew this little gremlin was up to no good with those fangs. She's the devil in disguise. Rent asks her how he can use that skill, but the latter says he needs to fulfill certain conditions to activate it. The first is that there must be a contract between him and his debtor. If anything, she adds that there are multiple types of force collection, though they're a bit complicated to explain to him now, making her grin at the mere thought of it. Anyway, just leave it to her. It's Rent's first time, so MP volunteers to handle everything. Rent agreed. Two caught up in their conversation, and he didn't notice the two passers-by who were staring at him weirdly. They were all staring at Rent because what's up with him? Why is he talking to himself? Apparently, the other guys can't see MP, but they really believe that Rent is loco. So it's best to ignore and leave him be. The next day, the sun is shining brightly, a similar disposition shared by the now 3 members of the Sky-Cleaving Sword Party as they emerge at the inn. Kai was excited, saying they should head straight to the guild to look for a new member when he stopped mid-sentence. Rent stands before them, blocking their path. Kai asks if the latter just got back, and Elle was quick to remind our guy that he's been cut. Compared to her, at least Kai was more solemn, reiterating that there's no place for Rent in their party anymore. Misa, on the other hand, throws a small wrapped-up bag at Rent's feet. It's his personal belongings. She tells him that the innkeeper was nice enough to gather Rent's stuff for him, even though she explicitly told him that they could just throw it away. Suddenly, Rent shows them his parchment, stating that the trio owes him 2,678,087 MP. This is the amount of magical energy he lent to the Sky-Cleaving Sword until now. They can only at him, while Rent asks if they have any intention to pay him back. At the mention of that, it's like the three of them forgot they've been borrowing Rent's magical powers all this time. Rent was right to call them out for their crap, reminding them that they all knew what they were getting into from the get-go, that they have only been borrowing his magic all this time, so naturally the day would come that they needed to repay him. Rent finally makes his stand, saying his gift is not just some bracelet-shaped tool. Well, it's safe to say he struck a nerve because suddenly Kai has his hands on his collar again. Is this the tone of someone who's asking people for something? Because Kai sure as heck doesn't like it. All while Rent freezes up again. Unknown to Kai, MP's just right there, floating above our guy's shoulder. Kai looks Rent straight in the eye, ordering him to lift his head while Misa and Ella giggle in the background. But Rent knows what will happen if he does that. So instead he got on his knees and bowed so low his forehead almost touched the ground. Rent begs them to pay back the power he lent them, even if it's just little by little. Instead of complying, Kai stomps the back of his head continuously, shouting at Rent not to come near them ever again, while the two girls enjoy his power tripping. Rent didn't even manage to say another word as Kai turned his back on the latter. If anything, he nonchalantly calls out to Rent that he'll pay him back when Rent succeeds in life. As they continued to walk away, Rent kept his head low to the ground, grabbing the dirt out of frustration. In the background, MP's voice rings loud and clear as the identities of the debtors have been ingrained in her eyes, thus completing the mandatory contract. With that, she tells Rent that he can activate the skill any time now. Rent gets up and clutches his piggy bank, instantly activating forced collection, and a sigil appears on his piggy bank's nose. Now then, for those three, they couldn't believe collectors are actually real. Elle admits that she got a bit scared back there, but after what they did to him, Kai's pretty confident that Rent wouldn't dare to come near them again. Misa is even worse, saying she hoped Kai could have gone harder on Rent, making the two exchange grins at their equally sick and sadistic minds. Unknown to them, magical power bills flew out of their bodies, and for some strange reason, Misa feels a little off. Kai noticed and asked if something was wrong, but she brushed it off. He teased her if she felt as if Rent was watching them from somewhere, laughing it off, while Misa replied that he shouldn't joke about creepy stuff like that. Unknown to her, an unfamiliar mark appeared on the nape of her neck as they continued to walk along. MP hangs her head and apologizes to her master. Currently, they're at the pub, with Rent asking why she's being so polite all of a sudden. MP admits it's because of that guy named Kai from earlier. She feels that he's better qualified to use Rent's magical power, with how forceful and sadistic he was. Some comments you ought to keep to yourself, including that one, because Rent was ready to throw hands at MP when he heard that. Of course, the fairy tries to play it off, saying it's what she unintentionally thought. She tells him that it's just a joke, but jokes are half meant, right? The next day, Rent gets the shock of his life as wads of magic power suddenly come flying straight into his piggy bank. Unlike him, MP looks pleased. That little ruckus he did caught the attention of the barmaid as she stood staring at Rent. Meanwhile, our guy can't believe it. Could this be? MP tells him that the magical energy has been collected, which just goes to show that the contract was formed properly. She leans to the piggy bank, explaining that from now on, the collection will happen periodically and in line with the magic regeneration of his scumbag ex-teammates. Rent checks his parchment to verify what she's saying, and sure enough, it's true. His magic reservoir did increase. He hears a voice saying he met the conditions for skill acquisition. This time, Rent acquires the skill Magical Energy Management. MP looks over his parchment, pleased that her master has acquired a new skill again. She details that this new skill consumes energy from either the user or the magic reservoir to increase the maximum magical capacity. This means that for every 100 MP consumed, it's equivalent to a 1-point increase in Rent's maximum MP. That's when MP notices that her master doesn't look too pleased about it. True enough, Rent tells her that he finds the skill a bit boring. Why this little? MP almost snarled at him because what do you mean boring? This skill allows Rent to grow and become stronger, with her sudden outburst scaring him. Thankfully, MP quickly regained her composure and cleared her throat. But Rent still can't see how this will help him. He already has an infinite magic reservoir, so what's the point of increasing his own max capacity now? Anyway, he turns his focus on what she said back then. Rent asks MP about the multiple types of forced collection, curious to know how one differs from the other. Well, now that the contract is in effect, MP can now explain the types of forced collection. She begins by saying that her master can use 3 main methods of collection. The first is full payment. With this method, all the magical energy is collected one time, big time. The second method is installment payment. With this one, they can set several payments and collect energy in stages. The third one is known as the repay, aka the gateway to hell. Out of all of them, this is the one MP is most excited about, grinning maliciously as she admits that she personally made the contract using this method. But what exactly is it? Rent's curious if it really is that terrifying, which MP assures him it is. You see, repay is like a collection method akin to a hell ant pit. The more one tries to escape, the deeper they sink into it. But she adds, in hindsight, it's like collecting a fixed amount repeatedly. Upon hearing that, Rent can't help but ask how it differs from installment payment. Then, aren't they the same if it's like that? No, it's different. MP explains that with installment, you simply divide the total debt into parts, wherein they're gradually collected until the debt is fully paid off. But with Ribo, it's a whole new world of pain for the debtor. You see, it doesn't matter how much the debtor borrows, whether it be 100 or 1,000, because the amount deducted always remains fixed. To better understand Ribo, he uses his ex-teammates as an example. The 3 of them together have a total magical energy of 3,600 MP. Now, adventurers like them usually have a natural recovery rate of 10% per hour, so that's 360 MP. If you multiply that by 24 hours, then per day, the equivalent is 8,640 MP. Walk with us here. Now, let's also factor in the bracelets they found, and according to them, the 3 bracelets make 3,000 MP. Add all of those, and that makes a total collectible magical energy of 11,640 MP per day. MP whips out her abacus again as she starts doing the math about their debt this time. Stay with us, kids. You'll learn a thing or two about debts. So she calculates the total debt the three of them owe our guy amounts to 1,435,837 MP after a year of borrowing. Out of this total, the interest is calculated at 8% every 10 days, so MP took the liberty of assigning them a fixed interest of 115,000 MP every 10 days. Hold up! Rent's shocked that his skill also generates interest. Why didn't he know this? Well, what did he expect? MP simply tells him that it's the power of the infinite magic storage. Hearing her talk about this, MP sounds more like a loan shark skill bank than a skill, if he's being honest. Now you understand how many people are swimming in credit card debt, kids. Back to the equation, so if they collect 11,640 MP from those three scumbags daily, then in 10 days they would have collected 116,400 MP. Can you imagine? The interest alone is a staggering 115,000 MP every 10 days. This simply means that their principal debt barely decreases at all. Kai and the others can only pay the interest, and each month a new debt accumulates. Wait a minute, did MP come up with this payment plan by herself? Rent's starting to realize how evil repay is as he asks MP this. Of course, the fairy is proud to admit that she is. Now that he understands how it works, Rent's a little uncomfortable at how extreme it is, but MP doesn't see anything wrong with it. With that devilish grin, she reminds him that those scumbags never showed gratitude to her master, not even a single word of thanks. On the contrary, they even hurt Rent and made fun of him before ultimately kicking him out of the party. MP tells her master that he shouldn't show sympathy to trash like that. Now, she almost looks like a demon incarnate as she tells Rent that he should put those three to the limit and drain them of everything he can. Rent should drive them to the brink of despair and show them who the real weakling is. Rent had to shout at her to snap her back to her timid self. The only downside is that the other people at the bar turned his way, looking at him weirdly for shouting like that. Rent tells her that she's starting to scare him, but in her defense, MP says she's only expressing what might be in his heart. Emphasis on the keyword might. He counters that he never thought of any of those, so MP questions if he's sure. That made Rent pause and lower his head because deep down he knew she was right. Anyway, if he's that bothered by it, MP says he can change the contract terms later if he wants to. And if by a miracle those three come back humbly begging for forgiveness, then Rent can reconsider by then. And that's a big if. Seeing the change in his expression, she comments on how kind-hearted her master is. But she's not really sure if you can consider that being kind since it's borderline naive. If she's being blunt, MP even considers that a sign of weakness. Speaking of those three, they're currently at the guild, holding an audition for their fourth member. One applicant is a thief, but they don't really need that. Then there's also a witch who uses black magic. But seeing her looks alone, it looks like the three would be running a home for the aged if they let her in. Finally, Kai has had enough. He tells everyone to get out. Today's interviews are over. Despite having so many adventurers applying for a spot, none of them seem reliable as per the trio's standards. None of them is worthy to join the Skycleaving sword. That's when Misa shows them a somewhat useful candidate. A sniper. Kai checks the guy's profile, and after seeing it, it reminds him of a certain guy. Speaking of, Kai teases Misa about her thing for Rent, but the mere mention of it appalls her. She hates guys like him who are weak and indecisive. With a hint of blush on her cheeks, she looks at the guy and says her type is someone confident and dependable. The latter was quick to pick up when suddenly Ella intervenes and tells Misa that Kai is hers. Wait, just what did she mean when she said, "He's mine"? Seeing two girls fight over him got Kai in a good mood, and that's when he noticed it. He tells Misa that there's something like a bruise on her neck, and Elle notices that Kai has one too. They check Ella and she also has it. Everyone does. The three of them now can't sit still with this unknown bruise because as far as Kai remembers, no one cast a spell like this on them. Misa decides to check her parchment for clues to see if she missed something, and boy did she miss a lot. Misa now stares at her parchment and sees that her magical energy is 0. It's all gone. Back to Rent and MP's side, some energy wads come flying through the window and straight back to Rent's piggy bank. This time, our guy's no longer shocked about it as he checks the current updates on his parchment. According to the paper, his energy reservoir is filling up again. Haha, MP is obviously pleased. By now those three must be panicking because of what's happening. Rent says that if they find out that it's all because of his skill, then he's sure those three would hunt him to the ends of the earth. That thought alone makes our guy pale. MP can only sigh in exasperation. Her master really is afraid of those three scumbags, but at that opportune moment, she tells him that he should use that to flip the table on them. How will he do that, given how he doesn't have enough power as he is right now? That's where he's wrong. MP reminds him that he has already started acquiring skills, doesn't he? This is why he should start using his new skill, magical energy management, so he can start growing little by little from now on. Rent was speechless and sat staring at his piggy bank. After what seems to be a long pause, he asks MP if one of the conditions for the next gift's evolution is if he continues to manage his magic energy. The fairy grins even more, as if to confirm his suspicions. That night, she tells him that Rent's emotional shout from the depths of his soul was like a joyful birth cry for a new adventurer born into the world. It also marked the end of his previous life, where he used to chase others, because from now on, Rent will walk his own path as an adventurer. She tells him outright that he has the power to do that, so he needs to believe in himself more. And if he ever comes across trouble, MP promises that she'll be right there with him, supporting Rent with everything she has. Our guy can't help but get a little teary-eyed when he hears this, so he just thanked the fairy from the bottom of his heart. Now then, what to do next? MP holds up his parchment, telling him they could take on quests like monster hunting and maybe even level up too, thanks to Rent's magical energy management skill. That sounds good to him, and he knows the perfect place to start. Rent says there's an artificial space created by an ancient mage on the outskirts of the city of Melva. It's practically a sealed zone that functions like a synthetic garden. There are numerous challenges and training opportunities available there. He remembers back when they first formed the Skycleaving sword. The four of them hold up and train there a lot. MP asks where it's located, and he replies that it's a little far from where they are. In fact, even with a fast horse carriage, it might take them about 2 weeks to reach the place. That's perfect. MP starts fiddling with her abacus again, saying even if those scumbags try to chase after them, it will give both Rent and MP enough time to get away and form a plan. With that, she tells him they should get going pronto. She wears that devilish grin again, saying 3 weeks will be enough for Rent to gain the strength and power to crush those 3 scumbags. Meanwhile, the trio is currently caught up trying to figure out and get rid of those marks on their necks. There's a carriage waiting for more people to board it, and inside we already have Rent, who's sitting and using his skill, Magic Operation. Now then, let's see his parchment updates. He consumed 1000 MP to raise his current maximum MP by 10 points. The last time he was at 1210 MP, right? Now he has 1220 MP. A voice pings and tells him that he fulfilled the conditions, announcing that his magic recovery is now doubled. He happily looks at his now 20% recovery rate. A normal adventurer usually has 10%, which makes him appreciate how his gift really is special. MMP suggests that since they've got a long journey ahead, they should use it wisely. Just then, the barker announces that their carriage bound for Melva will depart soon, giving one last courtesy call for passengers before they leave. On the other hand, the trio is at a curses shop, where their unknown mark is currently being assessed by an old man. He flips through the books and can't seem to find which curse this is. If anything, he tells Misa that one part is written in ancient script, muttering as he wonders what the stake symbolizes. Misa could only frown because did that mean this old man still didn't know what it was? He's been working in this field for the past 80 years, but he never thought he'd encounter magical inscriptions that he couldn't decipher. Kai grabs the older man by the scruff of his neck, angry that the latter is zoning out and being swept away by his emotions. He's being paid to do this, for Pete's sake. Well, that knocked some sense into the older guy. Later that day, the now trio Skycleaving sword takes on a mission underground. They fought as usual, with Kai slashing their enemies and Misa using her magic to blow them away. During the fight, one of the monsters managed to injure Kai, but it's just a small scratch on his cheek. Weird considering he's a B rank now, right? Even he's aware of this, saying he could usually take these kinds of enemies without a scratch. At least it's not all that bad according to Misa anyway. If she just chugs one of those recovery potions, then her magic will return. Take note, a single magic recovery potion costs 10,000 gold. Speaking of potions, Kai asks her how many she has right now, and Misa says she's got 50 bottles with her. So that means they spent 500,000 for those potions alone. Kai comments that from now on, they will have to rely on their savings from their previous profits. The ultimate solution for them is to find a way to break the curse quickly, with Kai annoyed at how troublesome it has become. He turns to Ella, asking her to heal him, but Elle says she can't because she doesn't have MP. This just angered Kai, shoving a potion bottle in her face and saying she should drink the potion to recover her magic quickly. Unfortunately for them, Elle is a brat and refuses to drink the potion simply because it's bitter. This just made Kai angrier, telling her to stop acting like a child. Without her MP, she's useless. And with that, Elle starts bawling her eyes out, so now Kai feels a little bad. He walks away cursing while Misa tries to stop him. If anything, it's Elle's fault for not recharging her magic. That's when Ella yells aloud to give back her magic. Both Misa and Kai turn to her just as the image of Rent flashes in Misa's mind. Wait, could it be that the one who cast this curse upon them is actually Rent? Speaking of Rent, our guy has it pretty easy chilling on the carriage. He notices MP has been staring at the window all this time, and it's because the fairy enjoys it. She asks what that volcano over there is, and Rent says it's Mount Grimo. According to rumors, a dragon lives at the top, making MP even more enamored by it. Seeing her like this is a bit surprising for a guy because he always thought MP already knew everything there is to know about the world. Anyway, it's been 6 days since they left the city. So far, Rent continues to use his magical energy to increase his maximum limit. He now has a whopping 4,709 MP, which is a magical amount on par with the great archmages. Plus, that's not all. He also learned a new skill during their journal called Magic Management. This allows him to freely use the magical power stored in the magic storage without the need to fulfill any conditions, or even to borrow it. So far, he still doesn't understand when he'll need it, but MP told her back then that he'll understand its true power later. Since he's got nothing else to do, Rent keeps on using his skill while the carriage gently rocks. He's pretty excited to know just how far he has come. Just then, the voice from before informs him that he has used a total of 350,000 through the magic operation skill. Condition fulfilled. Now his magic operation is leveled up. But wait, there's more. He now has a new skill. Skill purchase. Wait, did he hear that right? But MP is all over him now, happy for her master's newest accomplishments. Yo, just look at the parchment. It's filled with stats. MP suggests that he can just scroll through it, leaving Rent a little confused. So she has to do the motion with her fingers. She tells him to slide his finger from the bottom of the paper upward. So the parchment is like an iPad? Rent did as she suggested, and what the heck? There's a crap ton of unbelievable skills in here. Hey, this is what MP was talking about when she told him that her master skill has multiple potentials. Well, he kinda gets it, but aren't all these skills supposed to be granted by God? He remembers that he can't exactly choose what kind of gift was bestowed upon you, right? But with this, Rent can practically buy all of these skills, so his gift all along is one giant cheat sheet. MP grins, seeing how Rent is finally starting to understand just how powerful his gift is. This is why the skill Infinite Magic Storage belongs to the unique Triple S skills. Now then, the fairy asks what adventurer her master wishes to become. Because whatever he may choose, she'll make sure to provide him with the best management and development advice. As his advisor, he also reminds him that each skill costs a huge amount of MP to purchase. Fast forward to the end of their journey. Rent and MP finally reach the city of Melva. They walk among the busy streets crowded by normal folks and adventurers alike. MP happily flies right next to Rent, pleased to see there are so many people. Rent says it's because adventurers from all over the world go there and are drawn by the Great Melva Labyrinth. She turns to Rent, confirming if he has been to this place before. Yeah, actually, he tells her that he went here when he first started his journey as an adventurer. They went straight to the guild and did all the paperwork. But first, the concierge lady confirms if Rent is no longer unaffiliated with any other party, and if he wishes to change his base to Melva. It's a quick yes for him, and with that, the procedure is done. Now, Rent is granted the right to challenge the Grand Labyrinth, which also goes to say that his steps are anchored here. MP adds that even if someone follows them, there won't be anything to be scared of. Now, off to the Grand Labyrinth of Melva. Rent stands before the towering stone entrance of the labyrinth and sees that there are a lot of other adventurers here. Rent and MP take a moment to admire the view, with the latter wondering to herself what lies beyond the entrance. With that, the two of them step to the other side. As soon as Rent's foot entered the other side, what greeted them was a vast plain field. Well, true to its name, this level is the first floor called Vast Plains. It's recommended for adventurers who are rank F. He is confused. When did they step outside? So Rent had to explain to her that this is what the Grand Labyrinth of Melva is. They say the place was built using ancient magic by a wizard from past ages, but in all honesty, no one really knows the truth about it. Just then, rustling noises were heard a few feet away from Rent and MP. They turned to see two ugly mutated rats, flying Mimito rats. These monsters are the epitome of small but terrible since they're pretty vicious and they love human flesh. Perfect timing. Rent unsheathes his dagger, saying this would be the perfect opportunity for him to try out the skill he just purchased, just as the little gremlins dashed straight to him. Just a little flashback. Back when they were still bound for Melva, Rent made a few purchases, starting with a close combat skill. He has a small dagger for defense, but he didn't really use it much. MP says it's a great start to begin with what he has. Back to the current scenario. Rent cuts down the first Mimito rat that reached him before using his other new skill, Dagger Technique, which he purchased for 5,000 MP. He easily cuts down those 3 rats, just as he remembers a while back how MP suggested he should buy the skill Ranged Attack. Rent told her back then that he wanted a skill where he could cast a spell quickly and easily just by raising his hand, and she just got the skill for him. Rent turns to the Mimito rat, who sprang up from behind him and raised his hand to unleash Fireball. Yes, our guy also bought the Fire Magic skill that cost him 1,000 MP to purchase. So now he's a fighter and a mage in one. And let's not forget he's also a human power bank. With his hands still shaking, Rent held that stance for a beat longer until MP started singing praise of how well he did for his first time. It looks like he already got the hang of it. Rent starts swishing the daggers around, feeling all giddy because his body feels so light, and he can feel the magic coursing through his body smoothly. On top of those two skills mentioned, he also bought body enhancement and magical energy control for 5,000 MP each. This is all thanks to MP's recommendations. The two turn and notice that the bodies of the Mimito rats start to disintegrate, leaving behind beautiful stones. Rent tells MP that these are magic stones. He picks them up, explaining that in dungeons, defeated monsters turn into stones depending on their strength. They can sell these to the guild, and the mere thought of that just made MP even more excited. A few feet away from them, Rent notices that there's a small party of adventurers who are also busy fighting off the Mimito rats. After a couple more minutes of struggling, they decide to retreat since they're already out of healing potions. MP also notices them, commenting that those must be beginner adventurers. Seeing them like that reminds Rent of how he used to be, standing at the back of the party and providing magic for others. Suddenly, those very same Mimito rats turn their attention to him, and in a heartbeat he lunges straight to Rent. MP panics a little seeing these little demonized rats focus on them, but Rent is calm. He quickly draws his dagger and takes them down. He's different now, and as he cuts down one enemy monster after another, he can't help how fast his heart is racing. He has never experienced this before. After a while, Rent took down all of the Mimito rats and rested at a nearby boulder. He heals his scratched knee using his what else? Healing magic skill he purchased for 5,000 MP. Now he's a healer too? Our guy's literally a one-man party at this point. Given how well Rent did on this floor, MP says they should be ready to enter the next floor. But Rent's not in any hurry to do so. He wants to stay here in the vast plains a little longer so he can test out this power more. MP only smiles back and comments on how her master seems to be enjoying himself today. At the back of a wagon, two kids sit together side by side, and these two are actually Rent and Misa back when they were younger. Rent turns to her while munching on his apple, surprised that she remembered his dream of going on a great adventure. Of course she did. She touches Rent's hand and says it's because she was always thinking about him. This is why when she decided to become an adventurer, she had already made up her mind to go with him and brave it together. But it turns out Rent is completely useless, huh? Gone is the sweet Misa, with her face painted with disdain at our hero. Rent woke up with a start, panting in the dark room. So it was just a dream, huh? Beside him, he sleeps soundly with a smile. Come morning, they return to the labyrinth. Since Rent already practiced as hard as he could on the first floor today, they're exploring the Grand Goblin Forest, which is the second floor of the Great Melva Labyrinth. Rent wanders around, amazed at how dense it is, but make no mistake, he's not wandering aimlessly. He uses his aura detection skill to pinpoint the location of his enemies. Judging by the results, it looks like there's a horde of goblins ahead of them, and further ahead he believes it's the goblin colony. For the record, goblins aren't strong individually, but when they work in a group, that's where the real danger comes. Rent is concerned with how to face them all in one go, but MP's not too worried. She's even more excited because finally she can show her master the true value of that skill. Soon enough, they spot a pair of goblins walking not far from them. Rent moves quietly and approaches the monsters without alerting them, thanks to his aura concealment skill. Before the two even realize they'd been attacked, Rent easily cut them down with his knife. He continues further until finally, he sees the goblin colony. Had these goblins known that this would be their last supper, they would have eaten more. Well, too late for that, because right now, Rent has just activated his magical energy management skill. By doing so, he alerted the goblins of his presence with the monster pointing in his direction. Magical energy floats in the air before bursting into flames as Rent attacks them with Fireball. Against such an attack, the goblins were incinerated in one go. Yes, Rent can actually cast magic simultaneously now. Flashback to earlier, MP explains that consuming magical energy takes a heavy toll on one's body. She asks him if he can sprint at full speed, and of course Rent says he can't. He'd be out of breath in no time. The same principle applies to magic, wherein casting spells back-to-back with zero recovery time is deemed impossible, but not with magical energy management. With this skill, MP says he can just coat his body in external magical energy, then release it directly as magic. Thanks to that, he can use the same spells consecutively, or fire several of them at the same time. Back to the present. Rent stares at the destruction he laid waste to the goblin colony. He finally goes down to check if they succeeded when suddenly an angry giant goblin appears. It's the goblin leader. Too bad for this guy because Rent was ready. Rent quickly fried him up, even before he could take on a fighting stance. Bro was torched. Now they know they really succeeded. MP gives a celebratory cheer seeing how her master wiped out an entire goblin colony by himself. Well, he didn't do it by himself. Rent turns to MP saying it's because he had her by his side. MP feels happy to hear those words from him, and with that she pumps her fist high in the air. If they can keep this up, they'll break through this labyrinth in no time at all. and they can also get their hands on a lot of magic stones. Speaking of magic stones, Rent heads to the guild right after taking down the colony, and would you look at that? The guild lady tallies his loot, which includes 1,341 goblin magic stones, which are equivalent to 134,100 gold. Then, there are 21 pieces of goblin leader magic stones, amounting to 10,500 gold. Let's not forget the goblin colony destruction bonus and the 21 pieces of goblin seeds, which are valued at 42,000 gold. All the other adventurers present and listening to her tally all of that can only stare in wonder and in awe at Rent. With that, she tells our hero that his total reward is 186,600 gold. Rent had never earned that much before, his and MP's eyes widening as he took the bag. Now that is one fat bag. The two of them celebrated their big win for the day, and it's safe to say that MP is enjoying her calamari a lot. It's her first time eating something that has the scent of the sea and is drenched in rich soy sauce. Rent chuckles at her expression, but yeah, today really is a good day because he also got promoted from Adventurer rank E to rank D. It's also guaranteed that he'll become much stronger with his new skills in tow. He balls his fist because now, even if those bastards come after him, he can fight and defend himself. Be that as it may, MP reminds him that their location is exposed since they have already changed base. Soon, those three notice that force acquisition is placed on them, and it's only a matter of time before they go after him. Since it's come to that, MP suggests they gather an additional 150,000 MP points. She points to a certain skill on Rent's parchment, saying that if they can obtain the skill with that amount, then they won't feel his ex-party mates anymore. Rent checks his own parchment, commenting that they have a long way to go, but MP's not too worried. They'll get there in no time at all. After having her fill of calamari, she puts her hands together to give thanks. So Rent asks her if there's anything else she'd like to eat. Oh? She perked up upon hearing that, asking him if she could really request such. Rent smiles, saying he wants to thank her for always being by his side and taking care of him. MP grins, then tells him that next time she also wants MP. After all, magical energy is the tastiest feast for a fairy like her. Oh, is that so? She could have just said so earlier, but MP had to tell her master that it's not what he's thinking. Besides, everything has been prioritized to boost his abilities. Well, it doesn't matter to the slow-witted Rent as he asks her how much she needs. MP is already expecting it, eyes shining as she asks if he's really going to give her some. If that's the case, she tells him that 100 MP may be a great start. Rent grabs his good old piggy bank, wondering if he should use magic energy transfer to give it to her. But to his shock, MP already has her eyes closed and lips puckered up to him. Nani the heck! She tells him to give it to her directly because when it's mouth to mouth, the magic goes deeper into her body and she feels more pleasure. Well, how could he say no to that? Rent also puckers up as the two share a kiss. MP collapses in his hands as Rent asks how it was. MP is still on cloud 9 as she tells him that it was absolutely wonderful. But wait a minute, now that he thinks about it, was that Rent's first kiss? Cut to the next scene. There's a wagon passing through the forest, and on board it are Misa, Rent, and a sleeping Kai. Misa tells Rent how amazing he is for having a unique S-rank gift. She always knew that he was destined to become an adventurer, and hearing her say that reminds Rent of how Kai said something similar. Misa points out that Kai is just a swordsman, which is pretty ordinary, and a D-rank gift isn't exactly rare. She tells him then that they should always stay together, which Rent agrees to immediately, adding that they should do their best to go on adventures together. Misa says that they shouldn't only be doing adventures together, they should be together in everything. Rent flushes when he hears her say that, and he's even more shocked when she asks him if he loves her. Being put on the spot, of course, Rent says that he does. She moves closer to his face, and just when their faces are just inches apart, Misa pushes an apple to his lips. Rent can only cry out her name while Misa laughs at him. In her defense, she decided long ago that these kinds of things only happen after marriages, so who is Rent to disagree with that? Finally, Kai wakes from the back asking what the fuss was all about, as Rent tells him that he should go back to sleep since they're still way away from the city. All of this is just a memory now to Rent. As he sits in bed that night, there are a lot of emotions coursing through his veins: anger, despair, and a sense of loss. Sleeping soundly next to him is MP, and if he hadn't met her, it makes Rent wonder what kind of person he would have become by now. He covers her with a blanket to keep her warm, and while looking at her, he tries to process this feeling. It might not be love in the usual sense, and it might not even be human love at all. But what he does know is that seeing her sleeping peacefully makes his heart feel at ease. A certain comfort washes over him, and he feels a renewed energy. He settles into bed, bidding an already sleeping MP goodnight as he finally feels true happiness. Back at the city guild, the lady there informs them that Rent is currently registered in this city as his base of operations. Kai screams at her face, "It's impossible! They've looked every corner of the city for days and couldn't find him." The girl remains unfazed and doesn't even flinch with Kai intimidating her like that. If anything, he's even more pissed at her. Is this girl mocking them? Misa had to reel him in even though he's still fuming. Back at the inn, Misa checks her parchment and confirms her suspicion. Compared to yesterday, the amount of magic they have borrowed has decreased, so Kai curses again. That bastard Rent really stole their magic. She didn't notice it before because she had been ignoring the borrowed magic data, but something feels off. This piqued Kai's attention, so Misa showed him her parchment, saying that the total magic from their 3 bracelets, plus the normal amount of natural magic they usually recover, didn't add up. According to the paper, the amount of loss doesn't match at all. But wait, what does that mean? Kai asks eagerly, but Misa is just as clueless as he is. But here comes Ella with the biggest concern yet. She keeps whining, asking when they are going to stop relying on potions. This stuff is bitter, expensive, and worst of all, disgusting. They have no choice but to endure it a bit, as Misa explains that if they drink 4 or 5 bottles daily to make up for the lost MP, then their magic won't drop anymore for the rest of the day. Being the brat that she is, Elle starts whining even more. She doesn't want to keep doing this. Can somebody else drink her potion for her? Of course, you can already expect Kai to be annoyed by her childish behavior. But wait a minute, what Elle said just gave Misa an idea. Later that day at the guild, one of the adventurers who applied for a spot at the Skycleaving sword, the old man from before, sits smoking his pipe. As he was about to leave, a scantily clad Misa and Elle approached him. Could this be the beginning of his harem story? Of course, the older man still remembers them. They're 2/3 of the Skycleaving sword, right? Misa beams because Gramps remembers them. Misa and Ella took no time and started pushing themselves against the older man, looking at him with enticing eyes as they explained their woes. They're in big trouble, and they really need Gramps' help right now. You can imagine his shock upon hearing that. Meanwhile, Kai watches this all unfold with his arms crossed across another table. He watches it wordlessly, with brows furrowed. You see, Misa had an idea. If the nature of their curse is to drain a fixed amount of magic energy from the Skycleaving Sword's party, then all they need to do is add someone with a high magic capacity. By doing so, they'll raise the team's total available magic. She spreads out the application forms of the adventurers they interviewed a few days before so they can choose from that roster. Kai and Elle beam, as expected of Misa. By adding another member to their team, it lessens the burden on the 3 of them. That's when Misa spotted the old man's form. To their shock, he packs a staggering 4,200 MP, which brings us back to the current situation. There's only so much an old man can do in the face of temptation, aka Misa's rack. Luckily, the cavalry rode in as a party of adventurers called out to Gramps and thanked him for waiting up. Ellie and Misa are dumbfounded. Then there's the other guy asking who these women are. Gramps makes a feeble excuse, saying they keep following him so he didn't know what to do. Misa kicks up a fuss, surprised to know that all this time, he's been a member of a party. The old man didn't deny that. Moreover, he heard that the Skycleaving sword got hit with a strange curse, and that news has spread all over the guild. With that, he turns his back on Misa and Ella, but not before saying he has no plans on helping people like them. This time, Misa really did make a scene, so Elle had no choice but to calm her down. Kai only clicks his tongue at their failed attempt when he overhears 2 adventurers speaking from the table behind. The older elf guy snickers at the whole fiasco. Meanwhile, his companion comments that the Skycleaving sword got what they deserved by being rejected in front of everyone. She adds that their group always looked down on other adventurers. It's no wonder someone hated them and inflicted a curse on their group. It's a bit of a shame because she admits that she used to love the Skycleaving sword, but the older elf guy points out that their group is done for. Suddenly, Lawiled Kai appears behind their backs, looming over them as he asks just who they were calling done for. So now, both Kai and Misa are busy picking fights with the elderly. Meanwhile, Ella is tasked with the burden of reeling in her party mates. Just then, the concierge lady calls their attention and shares that she has a report about Rent's whereabouts. They crowd over her quickly, asking if they have already located Rent. The guild lady tells them that Rent's base of operations has been recently changed from their city to the city of Melva. Did she say Melva? You mean the city with the Great Labyrinth? Misa wonders when he moved to a place like that, but Kai says it doesn't matter. What matters now is that they'll find him and tear him to pieces. Then we're back to our hero Rent and MP. The 2 ventured into the labyrinth, looking for the entrance to the 3rd floor. It didn't take long for them to find it, and as soon as they did, Rent took a moment to stand before it, noting that they needed to stay fully focused because the monsters from the other side would be much stronger. He enters the arch and instantly he's transported into a dungeon-like setting. The 3rd floor of the Great Labyrinth in Melva, otherwise known as Cave of the Dead, is recommended for adventurers of rank D and above. As soon as they walked in, MP instantly felt the drastic change in the environment, with this creeping feeling of dread and the dark corridors. Suddenly her eyes lit up because all of this, including the damp, depressing air, makes her feel like they're really inside a dungeon. They're like 2 peas in a pod. because that's exactly how Rent feels as well. He can't help it, his heart is pounding from all this excitement. They were both a little too worked up on each other's hype that they didn't notice a third entity in the form of a skeleton that appeared between their faces. Yeah! Rent managed to evade in time as the skeleton's sword cut between Rent and MP's faces. A surprise attack. Our hero quickly drew his blade and stabbed the core of the skeleton, instantly defeating it. Geez, that scared him. Now that he has noticed it, Rent tells her that the monsters in this level attack based on sound. Well, if that's the case, MP suggests they communicate through thought. Whoa! Rent didn't expect to hear her voice in his head, as MP explains that she tuned the channel, so he should be able to do it too. He does a little test run, and MP is happy to announce that she can hear him loud and clear. But wait a minute, if they could communicate via telepathy all this time, how come she didn't tell him about it while they were in the carriage bound for Melva? He had to put up with the other passengers' strange looks back then. MP grins sheepishly and scratches her head because she totally forgot about it then. Anyway, they continue exploring the cave and come across a skeleton soldier with its skeletal beast. 2 floating balls of fire appear out of nowhere and hit both skeletons in one go. Instant kill. MP can't believe this place is easier to conquer than she expected. That may be so, but Rent worries a little because the cave is really complex and winding. They have to keep an eye out for surprise attacks and their blind spots. Lucky for them, he's equipped with all the right skills to explore the cave, such as the aura detection skill he's using right now. According to his sweep, other adventurers are fighting a monster nearby. But wait, Rent suddenly charges in the direction of the fight. This is bad. MP follows suit and asks her master what's happening. Rent tells her that an irregular has appeared. A what? It's a stronger monster that shouldn't be on this floor. Sometimes monsters from deeper floors accidentally show up on the upper levels and can cause great damage. Rent says an irregular is attacking the adventurers in the next room, so MP had to ask if her master plans to help them. He feels a little shameful and apologetic, but yes, he wants to help. And maybe it's because he's too soft-hearted. MP doesn't really mind, and if anything, she can smell profit out of this ordeal. Rent was too focused on getting to the next room that he didn't notice other people were coming from the other direction. He bumps hard against one of the adventurers, falling on his butt as the other guy screams at him. Because of his kind nature, Rent apologizes quickly while the other adventurer from the group scolds the first guy. This is not the time to pick a fight. The only girl from the trio warns Rent that if he values his life, then he shouldn't go any further. The 3 proceeded to make a run for it, with the girl asking them if they thought they did the right thing. The first guy from before reasons that they would have been wiped out if they didn't do that, while the other tries to wash away their guilt by saying that she must have found peace knowing she helped them escape in the end. Rent remains seated on the floor, so MP asks if those were the adventurers her master was talking about. He tells her that he sensed 4 adventurers then, and one of them still hasn't shown up. MP suggests that maybe he fell behind during the escape. Or did he really? Either way, Rent decided to check it with his own eyes as he rushed to the scene. But lo and behold, there's a wall blocking their path. It's a dead end. Rent notices something off about it, which you can notice instantly if you look carefully. The wall is made up of a different material from the rest of the materials here in the cave. He touches it and confirms his suspicion. This wall is made using magic, and based on how warm it is, it looks like it has just been made. Rent feels his blood boiling, knowing this is the work of those 3 bastards. Without hesitation, he tells MP to step back as he uses Fireball to knock down the wall. As soon as it came crumbling down and the dust had settled, Rent's eyes widened in shock at the sight that welcomed him. It was a 4-legged skeleton. Is it really 4-legged or 4-armed? Anyway, MP's eyes spot something else, and she points it out to her master. Over there, a girl is slumped on the floor, bloodied and badly bruised. Despite her condition, the girl looks defiant and holds her sword firmly, taunting the monster to attack her if it dares. A skeleton soldier tries to force itself, and the girl from before, pushing back against it until her party mate slashes their enemy. It was the dude who bumped into Rent. He screams at the girl for being an idiot, ordering that she should attack more fiercely. She takes her stance again and apologizes. After they took down their enemies, the healer patched up their swordsman, that first guy from before. Surprisingly, he feels apologetic for making the healer use his MP, but then again, he vows to break through the 3rd floor no matter what. So far, he still has enough MP so they can do it as long as they don't run into any monster groups. The girl keeps quiet while they talk until she asks the healer if he could heal her too. The swordsman frowns because that's just a scratch. As if that wasn't bad enough, their healer tells her that he doesn't have any extra MP to waste on her, especially since MP is precious. That's when the other girl from the group side-eyes and disses this poor girl. She didn't even do anything. In fact, she says this poor girl, Rinka, is living a pretty comfortable life as if she didn't fight and get injured in the battle earlier. Rinka mumbles an apology again, but the trio isn't done. They continue to degrade her, saying it's always her fault why they stumble and fall behind. According to them, she's the main reason why they're stuck as D-rank adventurers. With that, the trio walks ahead with the healer commenting that she's a useless attacker. She should put herself in their shoes for once. Again, Rinka apologizes, and even this pisses off the other girl because the former has been apologizing non-stop for a while now. She tells Rinka that she should show her remorse through action, since anybody can apologize. Her scolding got cut off when she bumped into the backs of the other two adventurers. Both men stood frozen on the spot as they came face to face with the four-limbed skeleton. Now all four of them are frozen where they stand. What is that? Is this the third floor's final boss? One of them answers that it's not, and this monster is entirely something else. It's an exception. By now, the skeleton draws one of its arms back to swing its sword when Rinka intervenes and blocks its attack. The guy calls out to her, but Rinka is determined because this time she'll never let them down again. Well, if she's so insistent on doing that, the guy suggests she do something useful for them, at least right here in the end. Huh? Before Rinka could even respond to that, the three of them turned tail and were already at the other end of the arch. A wall starts to build up, closing the escape route, thus locking Rinka in with the monster. As soon as the wall is fully built, the three of them make a run for it, so now, Rinka is left fighting for her life on the other end of the wall. The skeleton attacks her relentlessly and she can barely defend herself. Did those guys really leave her as bait? Thinking about all that and fighting a powerful enemy is pretty hard, so it's no surprise the skeleton managed to hurt her by slicing her arm. Rinka fell back, but despite her bloody arm, she held her stance. She kept wondering if they abandoned her, but she thought better of them. They must have entrusted her with the task of buying them more time so they could escape safely. Yeah, right. With that, she continues to fight the skeleton head-on. She keeps remembering how they always told her that she's a burden to them, and that if it weren't for her, they'd be much stronger. Poor Rinka is being cut to pieces, yet she still stands tall. She can still fight. She yells at the monster to come at her, and boy did the skeleton listen because it not only attacked more forcefully the next moment, but it also shattered Rinka's sword. With her weapon gone, the last image she sees is the skeleton with its arms up ready to cut her down. Only it didn't happen. Explosive balls of fire appear out of nowhere and hit her enemy straight on. Rinka stood still as the monster finally collapsed. As the smoke and dust start to settle, that's when she finally sees our hero, Rent. MP floats by his side asking Big Bone how he liked those fireballs. Rent rushes over to Rinka, asking her if she's okay. Before she can answer, he tells her he'll heal her right away, but Rinka notices the skeleton starts to stir. She quickly warns him to watch out, with Rent turning in its direction to see if it's still alive. And she's right. The monster is already on its feet and attacks Rent. He blocks it with his dagger, but because it has multiple arms, it's proven hard to defend against it. Rent can barely stand his ground, but he already knows it won't be easy to take it down. Well, it's about time he defeats it with the finishing blow. He uses his fireball again, hitting it in the head when he notices something glowing near its pelvis. Is that the monster's weak spot? Rent uses acceleration to propel himself forward, ready to thrust his dagger to stab that spot, only he didn't reach it in time because the skeleton punched him. He's sent flying and crashes into a nearby wall. MP asks if he's okay as the monster dashes straight to him. Rent holds his piggy bank up, saying he has found the monster's weakness and will finish him with this final blow. He activates mana flow control with multiple energy wads gathering into a ball. Before the skeleton can reach him, Rent unleashes his final attack. Fireball X20. Rinka watches from the back, wide-eyed, as a huge explosion envelops the monster, obliterating it. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the city, the whole town is astir because apparently, the meteor shower party has arrived in Melva. They're an A-rank party, which makes them pretty popular. Some of the other adventurers even hope to catch just a glimpse of them. Well, they really are like a celebrity because here we have Meteor Shower member Roger signing autographs for his fans. Another fan approaches him asking if he could sign the back of his shirt. Roger finds that odd, but he still signs the fanboy's shirt. The latter even says he'll use it as a good luck charm for adventuring. Suddenly someone calls out Roger. It's a small, stout woman, another Meteor Shower member named Comet. She's munching on a piece of meat, telling Roger that if he won't eat his food, then she'll take it now. If it gets cold, it'll taste bad. Their other member, Namilia, sits comfortably, amused to see Roger with his fans. This time, their other party member, Jean, boasts to everyone that they will totally conquer the Grand Labyrinth. With that said, he asks the other adventurers he was drinking with if they will bet on Meteor Shower's success or failure. Naturally, the rest of the guys voted for their success. Jean laughs harder because if all of them are betting on the party's success, then that wouldn't be a bet, would it? They also have another party member named Foga, who's quietly sipping his tea on one side. Suddenly, the door to the tavern bursts open. Rinka's three party mates look distressed as they report an unusual entity has appeared in the Grand Labyrinth. They claim that a giant skeleton with 4 arms has appeared on the 3rd floor. Roger's expression changed, his eyes narrowing. A 4-limbed skeleton, huh? A guild representative comes running to the trio asking if they're okay and asking them where the exact location of the encounter is so they can send a subjugation squad. The swordsman tells her that they're not okay, clenching his fist as he tells them that their companion Rinka sacrificed herself to act as bait, thus allowing them to escape to safety. She what? The swordsman continues that at this very moment they think she's probably dead. The guild lady instructs the concierge to confirm Rinka's survival, while her party members look forlorn at their already presumed dead attacker. They're already talking about her in the past tense, saying she was a truly amazing person. Everybody else held their breath as they awaited the results of her status check. That's when the concierge shares with them the good news. Miss Rinka is still alive. The guild representative beams at this wonderful news, while the rest of the adventurers suggest they head out and rescue her at once. Unlike everybody else in the tavern, the three adventurers exchanged looks, their eyes fearful and worried. Didn't they manage to lock her up in there real good? Even the guild representative was weirded out. Roger stands from his seat and announces that their party will retrieve Rinka while taking down that exception. The guild representative asks if they're sure, and they couldn't be more excited. Roger says it's been a while since they entered the Grand Labyrinth, so this will be a good warm-up for them. Oh ho! The tavern becomes even more hyped because the prestigious meteor shower will go and retrieve her by themselves. If there's anyone not happy with these, it's obviously the trio, who start to look nervous and pale. Suddenly, a voice drowns out everyone else's as he tells them there's no need for them to go save Rinka. It's our boy Rent. What's more, he says he has already taken down the monster. Right next to him is Rinka, making her party members cower in fear as if they've seen a ghost. Rent tells them that he's the one who defeated the quadrupled skeleton and shows them proof of his win. Even the three members of Rinka's party couldn't believe it. The skeleton's magic stone. But oh! Roger's face lit up in recognition of our hero. Wait, isn't that Rent? Our boy greets Roger respectfully, while the latter approaches them and asks who the girl beside him is. Rinka introduces herself and tells everyone that Rent saved her. The whole place erupts in cheers, amazed at Rent's recent feat. They have no idea who this kid is, but he's amazing. Contrary to them, Rinka's party members don't even know how to react. Wait a minute, the swordsman remembers Rent? He's the kid who passed them by back then. Jean couldn't believe the apprehensive tone of this guy. The least he could do is thank Rent for saving their party member. But Rent says there's no need because they used Rinka as bait and left her for dead. What did you say? The air in the place suddenly changed. All of the adventurers looked at the trio differently when they heard Rent say these guys abandoned her. The guild representative also told Rent that she heard Miss Rinka volunteered herself. The swordsman becomes angry, raising his voice as he calls Rent out on his lies. What this kid is saying is pure nonsense. So Rent hands something to the guild representative and sees that it's a stone. She asks our hero what it was, and the latter explains that it's a piece of a wall created with magic. He looks at the trio, telling everybody how these three created a wall using magic and blocked off Rinka's escape route. If the guild can analyze this stone, then they can find out when it was created as well as the identity of the mage who created it. This just puts the trio into a worse light, as the other adventurers look at them with more disdain now. Finally, the swordsman couldn't take it and called out to Rinka. He tries to coax her into covering their butts and to tell everyone that they didn't do anything like that to her. They told her to speak up, but Rinka kept her mouth shut. Roger finally steps in, saying that as adventurers, they all live for the moment since there's no guarantee that they'll live until tomorrow. He continued that this is exactly why they place complete trust in their comrades who cover their backs. Roger moves closer to the three, drawing his sword, then proceeds to unsheath it, swinging it barely a centimeter away from the swordsman's neck. He says those who betray their comrades don't deserve to live, glaring at the latter as he said so. The swordsman is almost crying out of fear, especially since Roger's blade has already come in contact with his neck, with blood dripping on the blade. Just then, somebody put their hand on Roger's shoulder. It was Foga. The latter only gave Roger a look before Roger reluctantly sheathed his sword. Fine, he understands now, okay? Well, that shut them up. The guild representative asks the three if they have any justification. Meanwhile, Roger suggests they go on a little hunt to clear the air. But before they leave, he calls out to Rent and tells him to keep his schedule free the night after tomorrow. No explanation whatsoever, and he just told our boy he'll see him then. Namilia, Jean, and Comet pass by our hero, happy to see him and even prouder that he took down the monster and saved the girl. Foga was the last to pass by, apologizing on behalf of his members, but it's no problem with Rent. Even MP likes their rowdy bunch, and with that, Meteor Shower took their leave. The guild representative calls out to Rent and Rinka, asking if she could have a bit of their time. She ropes them in for questioning as they investigate the case of false claims by Rinka's party. It didn't take long, and before they knew it, it was over. The guild lady thanks them for cooperating. Throughout the interview, the crystal glowed blue, which means Rent was telling the truth. Rinka asks what will happen to the other three, and the guild representative says the trio were questioned separately a short while ago. They've committed grave offenses, namely forcing their teammate to be the bait and submitting a false report to the guild. As a result, their licenses are permanently revoked and they'll be sentenced to hard labor in the mines as criminals for a long time. Rinka didn't say much and Rent didn't either, and just kept a close watch on her. Once outside, Rinka thanks Rent again for saving her earlier. Rent is more curious as to what she will do now. Well, since her party just fell apart, Rinka doesn't have anything specific planned yet. Rent shows her the sack of gold he earned from defeating the monster, thanking her for it. With that said, he asks her to join him for a meal as thanks, but Rinka doesn't want to trouble him any more than she did. That's when Rent revealed that he was also abandoned by her comrades until recently. Now that is something she didn't expect, least of all from a guy like Rent. So if she's willing to listen to him for a bit, then Rent is more than happy to listen to her complaints too. The two of them settle at a nearby restaurant where Rinka shares that she has also been abandoned, and today was the 7th time. Holy, did she just say 7? Rent couldn't believe his ears. She takes her parchment out, adding that out of all those times, this recent abandonment broke her heart the most. But with disdain, she adds that it's because her gift doesn't let her run away from the battlefield. Rent checks her parchment and sees that her gift is the Path of Asura. But what's more surprising is the skill level. It's a triple S skill. Rent's voice increases an octave higher, seeing that hers is a unique skill. For Rinka, though, it's not. It's just an empty title. Even though she's pretty weak, her skill forces her to fight. You see, the Path of Asura is a Buddhist term that refers to the path of warriors, or people who live in constant conflict. In here, it's metaphorically used to indicate that Rinka cannot retreat from battle, since she's imprisoned by her fate as a fighter. At this rate, Rinka believes that she'll keep going like this until the day that she dies, fully embracing that this is her fate. Now that he has heard her story, Rent opens up and tells her that he also suffered because of his gift. His longtime comrades ditched him out of the blue when he became useless. For that, Rent blamed himself, thinking that he lacked strength. However, it was also that same special gift that ended up saving him. With that, he tells Rinka that his gift is the infinite magical storage, which is a unique skill, just like hers. Rinka takes the piggy bank into her hands, surprised to discover something like this about Rent. If it happened to him, will it also be possible that she will be saved by her gift too? Rent straight up asks her if she wants to form a party with him. Her? With him? The question catches her off guard. Rent nods and adds that since his gift revolves around supporting others, he believes he can help out Rinka. But instead of getting excited, Rinka can feel her stomach turn as she remembers what her former party members had to say about her. Everything came flooding back in her mind, them saying how she's useless or that she should quit being an adventurer. They even made fun of her unique skill. Lastly, there's what the trio told her earlier today, that if she weren't with them, they'd be way stronger by now. In a quiet voice, Rinka apologizes and turns down Rent's offer. She believes that if she joins him, then she'd only be a burden to Rent. From now on, she'll go solo on adventures. Just then, MP pops out and appears grinning in front of Rinka. The latter shrieks at MP's sudden appearance, but the little fairy remains unfazed. She even welcomes MP, already claiming her as a member of their party before introducing herself as the gift fairy assigned to Rent. Speaking of Rent, the poor guy was so shocked at Rinka's scream that he stood motionless at the back. Now that her initial horror is gone, Rinka stares at MP because it's her first time seeing a gift fairy. MP, on the other hand, apologizes for scaring her like that. Normally, she's only visible to the gift holder, Rent, but because her master has leveled up for quite a bit now, he can make MP appear to whoever he wants. She assures Rinka that Rent would never hurt her, and this is because he views the latter as an excellent investment opportunity. Okay, now that sounds creepy when said aloud, and it got Rinka to back up a bit from the two. Rent had to intervene given how MP is scaring her with that tone she's using. Well, how can he best say it? To make it simple, Rent tells Rinka that if they form a party together, she'll get stronger. And if she gets stronger, then it would also make Rent become stronger. It's a mutually beneficial relationship since that encompasses his skill. Poor Rinka still has doubts, because is it really possible for someone like her to become strong? Rent assures her that she can. At least that's what happened in his case. It's pretty hard to believe it, so he suggests they try working together for a day. Just one day, nothing more. Rinka thought about how Rent fought the quadrupled skeleton from before. If these are the words of Rent, the person who saved her, then she'll choose to believe in them. That same day, the two of them went back to the guild and registered their party. The concierge confirms if they are the only two members of the party, which Rent says yes to. With that, she asks them what their party name would be. The two of them exchanged looks before they answered. Double Deviation. Somewhere in a potion shop in the city, a merchant sells 20 vials of magical energy recovery potion to a single customer. This customer is none other than Misa, who puts it all in a sack and hauls it over her shoulder. Before she could leave, the merchant tried to warn her that the effect of the potion is like borrowing from her lifespan. He's a bit worried, saying that if she uses it too much, then she'll be in trouble one day. What's that about? Misa turns to the merchant, asking if he's lecturing her, a regular, about her purchases. It's not like she wants to use all of these willingly. With that, she turns her back on him with a huff, while the older guy can only thank Misa for her purchase. At the city square, a carriage bound for Melva waits. Inside the carriage are regular citizens, and some of them are ogling at the group seated at the back of the carriage. Isn't that the two-headed silver wolf party? The other passengers were talking about their party since they're a pretty well-known B-rank group. With them in this carriage, they feel a lot safer. Just then, Kai and the two others walk over to the two-headed silver wolf's party, asking them to move. Twin siblings Destra and Sinistra remain seated with a gentle smile on their faces. Meanwhile, Ella starts poking the cushion of the other party member's seat, noting how it looks plush and comfy. Misa complains that their seats, on the other hand, are awful, so Kai tells them to beat it. The twins finally look up and acknowledge Kai and the other two's presence. They must be the Skycleaving sword. From what they heard, their party climbed the B rank at breakneck speed. And Kai also knows the other party as the two-headed silver wolf, a trash group that's stuck in B rank forever. That struck a nerve in one of the party members, Rory, who immediately stood up at what he had just heard. But Kai meant what he said and relishes in the fact that he struck a nerve. Rory only warns him not to underestimate their group. Destra and Sinistra stand at the same time, urging their party members to give their seats to them. The other member tried to protest, but the twins were already walking away, saying they'll be counting on the members of the Skycleaving sword. Misa shoos them away while Kai cannot not leave an insult. With that, the carriage made its way to Melva. At the back, Kai and the others are fully enjoying themselves. Heck, Misa even brought alcohol with them. Seeing their rowdy group, Sarika, another member of the two-headed silver wolf, glares at the trio from her seat. She asks their leader if they really did the right thing by giving up their seats for the likes of them. Destra explains that the carriage they're on is a special express carriage. It differs from the normal one because it reaches the destination at twice the speed of a normal carriage. This is because the express carriage takes a dangerous shortcut that no other carriage uses. Furthermore, those sitting at the back of the carriage are implicitly taking on the role of protectors of the passengers. Destra states that the Skycleaving sword willingly took that role, with his twin adding that she respects that noble gesture. No. Sarika thinks the trio never even thought about that. Just look at them. She's pretty sure they chose those seats simply because they looked comfy. Just look, they even started drinking now. Destra tells her that it's a disrespectful thing to say, while his twin backs him up, saying that anyone with such shallow motives couldn't possibly be in a B-ranked party. Shannon, their smallest and presumably youngest member, listened to their conversation while continuously observing Kai and the others. Just by looking at the latter having a good time, she already hates them. As the night goes deeper, the carriage continues its journey without stopping. The two soldiers who are on the lookout that night note that the forest remains gloomy as ever. That is, until the other one sees something from his telescope. There's a group of figures huddled in the middle of their path and what seems to be the remains of a carriage. The Sky-Cleaving sword is sound asleep at the back of the carriage when the soldier sounds the alarm. There's a high orc ahead. That woke Kai from his nap. Meanwhile, the twins are already on alert. True enough, 3 giant and bulky high orcs are scavenging what remains of a destroyed carriage. One of them is even holding a decapitated body. Oh no, the soldiers who went down confirm that the transport carriage is destroyed. The other shouts that there are 3 high orcs and asks for reinforcements. The two-headed silver wolf sat up from their seats, eager to assist since it's their job. Rory, seeing how Kai and the others are still half asleep at the back, scolds them for being so out of it. Kai rubs his eyes, still groggy and echoing what Rory said. Destra offers to take care of it, and Sinistra urges Kai to give the orders. They got off the carriage with the Sky-Cleaving sword at the front. Since their enemies are high orcs, this should be an easy win for a B-ranked party like them. Kai assigns the right flank to the two-headed silver wolf, while they'll take the left flank, and the guards are tasked to hold the center. Since the area ahead is a dense forest, Kai suggests they wrap it up quickly before other monsters appear. Destra confirms the orders and gets his team in position. As usual, they'll finish clean at maximum speed. Sarika uses her magic and gives them an acceleration boost. Rory faces one of the high orcs head-on, and as it was about to swing its club, a chain suddenly envelops the monster's body. Rory used his double bind to trap the monster, just as the twins used this opportunity to cut it down. For the finishing blow, Shannon unleashes her flame cyclone, instantly incinerating the monster. Sarika tells them that the whole takedown took 7 seconds. Not a new record, but still, not bad. In the middle, the 2 guards stab the other orc with their spears, but the monster is way too powerful. Both soldiers are plucked from where they stood, and would have been thrown to God knows where if Rory didn't catch them. This gave the twins the chance to attack, and in one swift move they use silver scissors to take down the monster. That's 2 orcs down. The guards thank them for their help, just what you would expect from the two-headed silver wolf. That may have been the case, but Rory's eyes furrowed when he looked at the other team. Kai is frantic and looks haggard. He keeps barking orders, telling Elle to use her enhancement magic quickly, while he himself holds a potion in his hand. Elle says she can't because for some reason she feels nauseous just by drinking 1 potion. And Misa didn't look any better. She even looks like she might throw up. Rory and the others couldn't believe what they were seeing. Just what is this messy setup, and what is their group doing? The orc charges toward them, with Misa and Ella hiding behind Kai. Ella even tells him to take care of it this time. Kai still feels sluggish. He curses in his mind because in surprise battles like this, there's not enough time to restore energy with potions. And it also didn't help that they just woke up. In the end, he ditches the potion thinking he could take the monster on. He doesn't need any skills to defeat this thing. Club and sword clash in midair, but what Kai didn't expect was that the orc would use its own body to attack him. Misa and Ella, who were standing nearby, didn't have time to react because Kai fell on top of them. This time, Misa sounds desperate, scolding a roughed-up Kai. Just what the hell is he doing? They've beaten high orcs many times before. An injured Kai gets up telling her to shut up. Of course he knows that. Kai continues to slug it out with the orc, obviously struggling against fighting the monster and taking a lot of beating. In his mind, if he could only use his skills, if only he just had some magic energy. As he got thrown off, the twins quickly came to his rescue and cut down the enemy's head in 1 swing. They had already sheathed their swords before the orc's body fell, as finally they announced that the battle was over. Sinistra tells the soldiers to raise the alert level. Everybody in the carriage cheers, while Misa and Elle only stare at them with wide eyes. After the fight, the twins apologize to Kai for stepping in from the back. But in their defense, they're only following Kai's order, which is to eliminate them quickly. Despite taking a lot of beatings, Kai remains arrogant as ever. He huffs and disses them because they shouldn't meddle in things that aren't their business. Besides, they don't need the other party's strength. The twins only look down on them, literally and figuratively, as they finally see the sky-cleaving sword. They're pretty disappointed, and that's one of the nicer ways to put it. The twins turn away as they now understand that reputation can't be trusted. Although it's the truth, Kai and the others still don't see it. And he even has the audacity to get offended by it. He wasn't even able to stand fully given the extent of his injuries. Sinistra takes pity on him and tells Sarika to heal them. Naturally, Sarika doesn't want to. It's a waste of her MP. So Sinistra suggests she just do the bare minimum. Even the soldiers feel ashamed at how messy the sky-cleaving sword is. They can't fathom how they're ranked the same as the two-headed silver wolf, given they gave such a disgraceful and disappointing performance. Rory observes quietly from his spot, but judging from what went down tonight, it looks like the rumors are true. As Sarika heals the 3, Rory shares that he heard rumors that the sky-cleaving sword members can't use their skills due to some curse. That may be the case, but the other guard points out that if the sky-cleaving sword truly belongs in the B rank, then shouldn't they be able to fight even without those skills? Sarika finishes healing them and orders them to move it since they need to leave before the other monsters appear. This time, the trio doesn't clap back and obeys wordlessly. The carriage resumes its journey, but this time, the two-headed silver wolf is seated at their original seats at the back. The group enjoys conversing with the other passengers, while Kai and the others are seated on the side. They keep their heads down, but even they can hear the stifled laughter and whispering from the other passengers. Kai can only glare at them, muttering that if it weren't for the curse, then they could have won easily. Misa agrees. This time she's the fuming one, as she blames it all on that idiot. The 3 of them grit their teeth, channeling a new and intense hatred for Rent. With this, the clerk finalizes their registration. The duo's new team has been successfully registered as she bids both Rent and Rinka a safe journey. So now we have Team Double Deviation that consists of both Rank F adventurers, Rent and Rinka. As they walk out of the guild, a prompt appears, telling Rent that conditions have been met for his skill growth. His magical power lending is now at level 2. He fishes for his scroll to confirm, with Rinka curious as to what just happened. The upgrade also introduces a new ability called Auto Compensation. He turns to MP to ask what it was, and the fairy graciously answers. When the MP of the recipient drops below a certain threshold, they are automatically lent magical powers. With Auto Compensation, he doesn't have to check his teammates' magic levels mid-battle. This is great. Just then, Rinka shares that she used the item Repair Elixirs that he lent her yesterday. As soon as she applied it to her shield and armor, they became completely brand new. Well, he's just happy that it was useful to her. Wait, speaking of brand new, they head to their next stop. There's this brand new katana with a dark scabbard, and Rinka couldn't believe it. No way, is this a new weapon for her? Rent remembers her weapon broke during the last battle, which is why he bought the quad skeleton weapon and reforged this katana for her by melting it down. The bald blacksmith takes pride in it, saying it's an excellent weapon and that he enjoyed strengthening it too. The man tells her to give it a try since he has already received the payment for the service he rendered. Rinka takes it in her hands and unsheathes it a little. As soon as she did, her expression changed, making the blacksmith shudder. But it only lasted for a fraction of a second as she drew it fully. Rent asks her what she thinks of it, and the usual Rinka is back, marveling at the blade. It feels amazing and seems like it could also cut through anything. She thanks Rent, sheathing the sword back to its scabbard as she says so. Meanwhile, the blacksmith still feels unsettled. Was that just his imagination? Still, he could have sworn he felt a strange killing intent from her just now. Just like that, the two went back to the labyrinth, and this time they entered the second floor and proceeded to the forest of the giant goblins. The two of them walk side by side as Rinka explains her skill again to Rent and MP. The skill she can use is First Strike, and along with this, magical power to enhance herself. Once it's activated, it only ends when her MP runs out or if the enemy in front of her is taken out. Upon activation, it consumes 7 MP and then it adds another MP for the succeeding 10 seconds. But here's where the problem lies. Rinka's max MP is only 10. This means that she can't sustain her ability for more than 40 seconds. To this, MP points out that as long as her MP doesn't run out, Rinka's enhancement won't break, right? For sure, her enhancement won't break this time because of Rent's magical power lending. And now, he also has the newly acquired auto compensation. Rinka is worried, asking him if something like this exists, just as a goblin from the tree spotted them? The sound of a trumpet broke the silence that enveloped the forest. The two look around and see the goblin on the tree blowing a trumpet. He's alerted their base. MP says the sentries already spotted them. That's not good, is it? Rather than be worried, Rent is excited. It's about time they get to try magical power lending. Rinka's horrified, but he tells her not to worry. She should trust him. No, Rinka should trust herself. He said it with such confidence that Rinka also started believing in herself too. Before long, a horde of zombies made their way to them, so Rinka got into position with her hand on her sword, saying that the first strike is the final one. She continues her mantra as the enemies move closer, urging them to take a step forward to the path of Asura. MP tells Rent to use his auto compensation now. As long as the MP is below 9, magical power lending activates automatically. Time seemed to slow down with the goblins just a mere few feet away from them. And just like that, Rinka unleashed her monstrous skill with glee. In just one move, she killed multiple goblins, with Rent and MP in awe at their companion's skill. It's like Rinka turned into a completely different person. She slashes her enemies left and right with no remorse, moving so swiftly and nimbly that the goblins can't land a hit. The goblins among the trees aim their arrows at and fire, only for Rinka to evade them all as she lunges toward them. With nowhere to run, the goblins in the trees watch in horror as she runs through the trunk and beheads them in one swing. As she lands, the symbol of Rent's skill glows on her back, showing that his magical power lending is at work. Speaking of Rent, he and MP stay back, singing praises of Rinka's prowess. It looks like her natural ability wasn't just for show. Furthermore, he thinks this boost in power isn't normal, it's completely extraordinary. However, MP notes that the only con of her skill is that it consumes a lot of energy, though it also explains why her past teammates couldn't fully utilize her true power. Be that as it may, MP is happy because her instincts were right. Lending MP every 10 seconds, and with the future of growth and development, Rinka will be able to lend more and more magical power in the future. Rent turns his attention back to Rinka. Sure, she's pretty powerful, but what he's seeing isn't just enhancement. It's more like another person has awakened, given how Rinka is enjoying this slaughter. Suddenly, a new type of goblin appeared. This one is much bigger, waving a mace around as it rode a giant boar. As soon as he unleashed his attack, Rinka took this opportunity to launch herself at the goblin and cut him straight down the middle. Just like that, the goblin massacre at the hands of Rinka is over. Rent is amazed at her display of power. He rushes toward her, singing praises of how she completely wiped out the horde in just a few minutes. But Rinka is unresponsive. She seems to be in a daze. Fortunately enough for Rent, his reflexes saved his life as Rinka suddenly turned her blade on him, with Rent blocking it at the last second. Still, her katana managed to nick him in the forehead, and a trickle of blood started to flow down his face. Rent sees that Rinka's still out of it, and then finally she's back. The two of them topple over, with Rinka above, panting and apologizing for being carried away with her feelings. This is the first time her skill of hers lasted this long after all. And then Rent tells her that she's too close. Rinka finally snapped back, quickly moving away from him and apologizing. MP grins at them. What a sweet and innocent scene, even though Rent tries to brush it off. With that, they made their way back to the guild to have their loot assessed. The staff notes they acquired 1,043 goblin mana stones, which is equivalent to 104,300 goldens. But that's not all. She also announces that the duo has 18 Goblin Boss Mana Stones, equivalent to 9,000 Goldens, and the 18 Goblin Seeds obtained from the destroyed colony, which are equivalent to 36,000 Goldens. The other adventurers remember Rent. How could they forget? He's the one with the big goblin haul last time too. But Rent points out that all of this is Rinka's work this time. With that, the guild staff hands them their reward, a huge bag of Goldens. As soon as Rent receives it, Rinka cries out to him in a panic. With such urgency, she shows him her scroll. Her max MP just increased by 4 points in a day. Rent congratulates her as both of them stare at her scroll. She shares how, however, since she became an adventurer 3 years ago, it has only gone up twice. This is all because of Rent, so she thanks him profusely. Rent claims that all he did was provide her some support. All of that is because of Rinka's hard work and strength. In all honesty, she finds everything that happened today hard to believe. Rent assures her that it was real. He was watching her from behind, and Rinka is definitely amazing. He tells her that she's strong, and that she has every right to be proud of herself. Rinka can't help but get teary-eyed at his supportive words, but the moment got cut short when MP appeared with her trusty abacus. Well, she didn't really mean to interrupt their moment, but she has to report the total amount of mana lent to Rinka today. Ever the businesswoman, she starts fiddling with her abacus, saying the skill was activated 16 times, totaling 126 MP. The activation duration is 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 40 seconds at a rate of 1 MP every 10 seconds, an additional 490 MP, and according to her math, the final total is 616 MP. Rinka can only stare at the abacus before promising to Rent that she'll get stronger from now on and repay him properly. To that, MP adds that the interest is 10%, but there's no due date, so at least there's a silver lining. Rent looks at them and it makes him wonder when the last time he ever got thanked for his power was. He remembers his ex-teammates back then scrubs them from his mind. This time he won't fail anymore because this time, he and Rinka will become strong together. MP calls him, saying that since they have a team now, they should go out and celebrate by eating something delicious. Well, he won't say no to that, so he asks Rinka what she wants to eat. The latter happily answers meat, and who could say no to meat? At the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range, the 8th layer of the Melva Grand Labyrinth, a dead wyvern lies sprawled on the ground. A lone figure can be seen on the side of the monster's carcass, and it stabs at the creature's scale. It's Jean. He's complaining about the wyvern's tough scales. Even the mere act of pulling one off is pretty troublesome. Foga appears on his side, saying they need at least 30 scales for their quest, making Jean whine. This is way too much work. The two continue to work on removing the scales, with Jean pointing out that gathering materials is much harder than fighting the wyvern itself. But more important than that, why are Namilia and Comet just hanging around and doing nothing? He tells the ladies to help out, but Namilia points out that hard labor is Jean's specialty. Comet adds that they're not here to do kitty quests, so of course they start bickering over that. Suddenly a blade emerges from the inside of the wyvern, and a second later Roger appears. Jean frowns because where the hell has he been all this time? Instead of answering that, Roger hands him a dark lump of something, saying he brought the wyvern's liver. What the? Don't tell me, he was inside the wyvern's body all along? Roger says he was, and even snickered as he shared that he almost got melted by stomach acid. Jean starts scolding him. Just how many times does the poor guy have to tell their leader not to pull reckless stunts like that? Roger just said sorry with a smile. Meanwhile, some worm-like things started to emerge from the crevice he crept out of. These things moved fast because suddenly they wrapped themselves around Namilia and Comet. Namilia cries out in a very perverted way. The mischievous Roger even had the balls to feign innocence, surprised at the parasites from inside the wyvern's body. Namilia continues to cry out sexily, so Jean has to tell her to stop that. Despite the ruckus, Foga continues to chip away at the wyvern's scale. It's just another day at the meteor shower party. Back at the city center, Rinka's voice rose an octave higher because she couldn't believe her ears. A meal with the meteor shower party? Yep. Rent says Roger invited him last time, so he thought that, given this rare chance, maybe Rinka would want to come along too. Of course, it's a no. She furiously waves her hands and head, saying she's just a mere weak frank adventurer. She doesn't deserve to sit at the same table as them. Well, she doesn't have to be that humble. But wait a minute, this is the first time she's heard that Rent knows the famous meteor shower party. He explains that back when he was still part of the Skycleaving sword party and their group was finally gaining traction, they crossed paths with the meteor shower party a couple of times and even shared drinks, so that explains why Rent knows the esteemed party. Rinka tells him to have a good time as they go their separate ways. Later that night at the bar, Rent was the first to arrive. He's seated at the table thinking that it's been a while since he shared a drink with Roger. Still, he's a little excited but at the same time nervous. Just then he hears a sultry voice whisper to his ear, apologizing for being late. It's Miss Namilia. And dare we say she's dressed more boldly tonight? Rent's eyes widen because didn't they just get back from an adventure quest? Never mind that. Namilia says she put in a little more effort and dressed up tonight since she'll be drinking with Rent. So what does he think? Does Rent like her outfit? Rent has trouble looking everywhere else because how can he when her rack is on his face? Namilia grabs his face with both hands, telling him to look at her properly. His face is red, but he's still cute in Namilia's eyes. That's when Roger appears with a cross chop, pushing Namilia, which ended up with Rent shoving his face on her chest. Our hero is in quite the predicament, a good problem for some, we believe, but Roger's attention is on Namilia. What's up with that weird outfit? Why did she change her outfit? Namilia is offended at what her party leader just said. How dare he call this elegant outfit ridiculous? She turns to Rent for help, telling him he should say something to Roger. But how could he when his face is shoved on her face? It's all good banter because the next moment the three of them are already holding a drink and having a toast. The three of them drank their fill, with both Roger and Namilia downing the whole drink. After that, they called the waiter for another drink, with Rent staring at them. Roger turns to him, asking if he's not drinking, but our protagonist quickly tells them he's fine. In his mind, he's well aware that if he tries to keep up with these two, he'll surely collapse. Roger suddenly turns serious, saying he's heard the rumors surrounding the Skycleaving sword. Even Roger's party is aware that our protagonist was kicked out of that party. Rent couldn't look at him, while the older man felt sorry for our hero. It was a disaster, wasn't it? Rent lowers his head, so Roger just tells him to drink and forget about all the bad stuff tonight and just leave it behind. Rent still didn't raise his head. If anything, he feels even more apologetic for putting a damper on this party. Still, even Namilia is pissed at Rent's previous party. It's a pretty horrible story to kick someone who has been with them for 5 years. Roger calls them idiots, and as far as she knows, he hasn't heard anything good about them lately. He believes that kicking Rent out of their party was the start of their downfall, and he couldn't be more right about that. If he remembers correctly, Rent's ability is to lend magic, right? It looks like Misa and the others forgot how much they relied on Rent's skill for so long. Namilia remembers that the Skycleaving sword rose up to the B rank pretty quickly. Their skyrocket to fame obviously built up their pride, which got to them in the end. Rent finally speaks, saying that maybe he was the one who got too attached to them, now that he thinks about it. After all, he was always at the back, with them using his skills as if that was the only way Rent could become an adventurer. He admits that he never even thought about forging his own path. Without a hint of self-pity, Rent says he believes he deserved to be left behind back then because he was really useless. Roger and Namilia can only stare at him, with the meteor shower leader even lowering his drink because of how Rent is. He tells our protagonist that he has become really strong, of which Rent obviously has no idea. Namilia moves closer to Rent again, comparing him to their leader who still acts like a kid. Roger kicks up a fuss from the side. She was referring to him, wasn't she? She proceeds to relay what happened earlier during their quest when they defeated the Wyvern. At the mention of the winged monster, Rent's ears perked up. A Wyvern? Isn't that one of the monsters that shows up on the 8th layer of the Grand Labyrinth? Roger says it is. Actually, he tells Rent that they're working their way through the 8th layer. Rent is amazed because, from what he heard, that level is packed with strong dragons, one after the other. Roger brushes them off. Those are just lizards, and they're an easy game for him. Namilia grabs this chance to continue her story, saying that after they defeated the Wyvern, chaos ensued because of the parasites that came out of the dragon's belly, and all because of the material Roger gathered. Roger feels defeated because his moment is taken away from him again. Rent listens to them intently while thinking how both Roger and Namilia are two adventurers who are way ahead of him. Despite that, the two of them sit together and share stories of their thrilling adventures with him as if they were close friends. He looks at them with admiration, thinking that he also wants to become an adventurer like them. Anyways, Roger steers the conversation back to their plans, saying they want to complete the full exploration of the 8th layer of the Grand Labyrinth. Upon hearing that, Rent's eyes twinkle, and Roger finally declares that their next goal is to explore the deepest layer of the Melva Grand Labyrinth. Our hero is getting pumped for them because why wouldn't he? That's the ultimate goal sought by countless adventurers. Speaking of layers, Namilia asks Roger how many layers the Grand Labyrinth has anyway. Roger has no idea and suggests they be the first ones to uncover the secrets of the labyrinth. Oh, that's right. Rent remembers something and starts rummaging through his bag. He actually has something to announce to the two. He hands them a scroll, and Roger couldn't be more shocked that Rent has a new party now. Our hero confirms that's right. He teamed up with Rink, who was also abandoned by her former teammates, just like he was. Roger remembers her as the girl from before. To add, Rent also shares that Rinka also has a unique gift like Rent, and it was because of that unique ability of hers that her former party ditched her. Is that so? Roger asks if that is also the reason why Rent named his party Double Deviants. Namilia thinks it's a pretty cool name, while Roger nods in agreement. With that said, this just means Roger and Rent are rival parties now. Soon enough, their small drinking party wrapped up. Rent bids them goodbye with Roger and Namilia walking ahead. The older man says that they should both work hard from now on and forge their own path. The two continue to walk silently until Namilia sighs and breaks the silence. She turns to Roger, saying that up until the end she still couldn't say it. Roger scolds her lightly. How can she even ask that of someone who just recently formed a new team? They both turn to see Rent still waving at them, with Roger telling Namilia that it would be completely inappropriate to ask him to join the meteor shower party. Well, even Namilia admits that Roger is right. Suddenly, she notices Roger become sullen and continues ahead. As he did, he relays the story of how he had a drinking buddy back in the day who worked in money lending. His buddy didn't trust anyone but himself, so he exploited everyone with insane interest rates and became hated everywhere. In the end, this buddy of his ended up getting killed by someone. Roger says that Rent's gift, lending magic, made him think that maybe there are people who need that more than they need money. For a while there, Roger admits that he was worried that after being kicked out, Rent would stop trusting others and end up just like his drinking buddy. But it looks like Rent is doing fine now. To that, he turns to Namilia and asks if she feels the same way, only to see she's nowhere near him. As it turns out, Namilia is still with Rent. This time she suggests the two of them have a little drink from now on. Rent tries to back away, saying that Rinka is waiting for him back at the inn. If he gets home too late, she will get worried. That's when the older lady leaned close to his ear, saying she's fine with having fun. So, is he down? Roger appears with a cross-chop again, shoving Rent's face into Namilia's chest, as he scolds his party member not to bother Rent. He starts fussing over them, telling her not to drag a sweet guy like him into that sort of thing. Of course, Namilia doesn't mean anything by that. She's just a girl asking him out for some after-party fun, you know? Huh? A date? Wait, Rent remembers something. He tells both Namilia and Roger that he actually has a small request from their party, making the two turn to him in attention. Meanwhile, a carriage has finally arrived in Melva, not knowing that a little figure was actually waiting for them to come all this time. It's just as she expected. Now everything is exactly according to plan. They returned after exactly 3 weeks. This figure is none other than MP, who sports a sinister smile as she says aloud how they know everything about debtors in the Central Information Bureau. Back at the guild, Rinka happily munches on a medium-sized grilled kukshiakia skewer, pleased with how delicious it tastes. By the way, these skewers are actually made of orc wheat and covered in wheat dough, deep fried to make something like a corn dog. Rent is speechless because Rinka sure can eat a whole horse, huh? Just look at all those piles of plates before them. But even MP shares her enthusiasm with the skewers, and it's rightfully so, because it's one of the popular dishes in this city's guild. Using First Strike consumes a lot of energy, which explains why Rinka is eating this much. MP's happy to see her eat a lot, saying those who eat well grow well. But now that she remembers it, doesn't Rinka have some important report to share with Rent? Oh, right. Rinka pulls out her scroll and shows him that today, her adventurer rank has gone up by 1 level. She's now an E-rank adventurer. Rent is impressed. She managed to level up in just 4 days after all. But that's not the only piece of good news Rinka has. Her maximum MP also increased to 24. She can't believe how she used to hate her gift all the time. But now Rinka feels she can finally shine as an adventurer. As always, she owes it all to Rent. Just then, someone shoves the diner open with their dirty hands. Meanwhile, a couple of footsteps approach their table, just as Rent shares how he felt about the exam, the same way Rinka did with her talents. MP joins in their conversation, saying she has a gift for Rinka to celebrate her level up, and produces a skewer stick with a small bit of parcel left near the end. Actually, the skewer part Rinka ate earlier was part of the golden sausage, but this small part right here is actually the tastiest part. It's even tastier than the main portion itself. Rinka only stares, with MP saying the main portion doesn't matter much since that's just an introduction to the tastiest part. Of course, Rinka believes what MP says as she takes what the fairy was holding and savors it as she munches on it. Meanwhile, Rent notices something from the corner of his eye, and before he knew it, Kai kicked down their table. Rinka starts to panic. What's going on? But Rent only glared at Kai, Misa, and El. Of course, the arrogant swordsman tells our hero that they've been looking for him, and might we add, they look a little worse for wear too? Rent remains in his seat and calmly asks them what they want. Hasn't he become useless in the eyes of the sky-cleaving sword? Kai grabs him by the collar, telling him to cut the crap. Misa chimes in, saying Rent has been stealing their MP ever since then. This has been his doing all along, hasn't it? Huh? Stealing? Rent points out that they were the ones who started it. First of all, Rent didn't give them his magical energy, he just lent it to them. And since those three showed no intention of returning it, Rent just simply retrieved it forcefully. Naturally, Kai can't argue against that. That's when Misa notices Rinka sitting quietly in the back and watching them. She asks who the female swordsman is, with the latter saying she's an adventurer accompanying Ren. When they heard that, the three started to make fun of her too. So she's an outcast too, huh? Elle even chimes in, "What a joke! Are they acting like a real team or something?" To this, Rinka jumps in support of Rent, saying he's not an outcast. Misa doesn't like Rinka's tone at all, and among other things, she hates the look in the female swordsman's eyes. She grabs Rinka by her cheeks, pretty pissed off at the look in the latter's eyes. This time, Rent gets up from his seat, telling them to back off. Oh, this is exactly what Kai wanted. He grabbed his sword, asking Rent if he wanted to fight, and then, a wild Roger appears. He puts his hand on both Kai and Rent's shoulders, telling them that if they're going to fight, then they should do it outside. Kai and Misa were dumbfounded. Isn't he the Roger? But the man in question was already kneeling, feeling bad for all the wasted food when Kai kicked the table earlier. That's when Kai immediately turns to Roger, saying this idiot, Rent, is using weird magic to harass them. Roger side-eyes him. Weird magic? So Misa and Elle are quick to jump into the conversation, saying Rent is stealing their MP, and he's doing it out of revenge because they kicked him off the team. Are these idiots hearing what they're saying? Thankfully, Roger has common sense. He reminds them that they were borrowing MP from Rent and using that power on their adventures. With that said, he stresses that what is borrowed must be returned. That's a given, right? Kai agrees. But Misa jumps into their conversation again, saying Rent did it without their permission. So Roger, the mediator, asks Rent if that was true. Our hero admits it is true, but states that he only did it because their behavior was horrible. Well, Roger points out that excessive debt collection leads to trouble, so how about they do this instead? They should settle it with a duel. Huh? A duel? Roger even offers to act as their judge for this duel since he's free. Rinka turns to Rent, asking what a duel is. He explains that it's a combat ritual where both sides agree to conditions and fight under an oath. Kai is already smiling because he really thought he won with this. Rent heard the man, right? It's a duel. If he wins, Rent will cancel all the magic debt they owe. Rent readily accepts the challenge and even tells Kai that they can attack him 3-on-1. He doesn't mind. They were so caught up with themselves that they failed to notice Roger secretly wink at Rent. So this is actually what happened last night. Remember how Rent asked Namilia and Roger for a favor? Our hero explicitly asked Roger to act as a judge in a duel, and his opponents will be the Skycleaving sword. Roger asks if he will be facing them alone, and Rent says he is. Our hero details that tomorrow, Kai and the others will arrive in Melva at dawn. They'll come looking for Rent to cause trouble, something he already expects. At that point, Rent wants Roger to jump in and suggest a duel to them. Obviously, those three never listen to Rent, but if it's Roger who steps in, then the situation will be completely different. Well, Roger finds the plan interesting, but how did Rent know his ex-teammates would be arriving tomorrow? Our hero didn't expect to be asked that, so he simply told them that it's just a hunch built from years of experience. Unknown to Roger, Rent has a little scout flying around scouring the area. Which brings us to the current situation. Outside, spectators, consisting of civilians and adventurers alike, are all gathered. They're pretty excited once they hear that there is going to be a duel and that Roger himself will be the judge. They're even more hyped since the issue is a dispute between former teammates. Misa looks around, surprised at the huge crowd of spectators around them. But this is exactly what Kai wants. This is the perfect stage for them to show everyone their real strength, or maybe lack thereof. Like them, Rent is pretty excited too, as expected of Roger's influence. From the back, Jean cheers for Rent a little too enthusiastically. That's because the former bet all of his weekly earnings on Rent, so if our hero loses, he won't forgive him. Rent could only sigh. Jean is gambling as always. A representative from the guild appears, asking Rent and the members of the Skycleaving Sword what they'll wager for this duel. First, the Skycleaving Sword's representative, Kai. If they win, he wants Rent to stop reclaiming MP points immediately. The guild representative turns to Rent, asking what he wants. He says that if he wins, he'll raise the interest rate on the reclaimed MP points. Elle and Kai can only frown. Huh? So Rent explains that the current interest rate is 8% every 10 days, and he wants to raise it to 10%. Magic energy collection is calculated on a monthly basis, and since he's already at it, he tells them that starting tomorrow, he'll reclaim an additional 90,000 MP points. The crowd starts talking among themselves, wondering if they're fighting about money. So far, they heard magic, loans, and interest in the conversation. Just what kind of dispute is this? Anyway, back to what Rent was saying. So with the interest rate at 100%, that means, well, we never get to hear what he had to say next because Misa intervened. So the reason why the MP they borrowed never decreased is because, yep, Rent finished it for her. Our hero was reclaiming MP daily interest included. It's what he calls forced collection. Simply put, it's like the three of them are paying in installments. Kai, with that small brain of his, has had enough of Rent's rambling nonsense for a while now. Whatever he says, what Kai knows for sure is that Rent's life will end today. Since both parties have no objection, the guild representative instructs them to take their oaths. Rent and Kai put their hands on the contract, vowing to abide by the results of this sacred duel. Roger joins after, stating who he is and which party he's from, as he swears to act as their judge. Among the crowd, Rinka stands alone, worried, until Nemilia appears on her side. The older woman knows Rinka is worried and asks her if this is her first time witnessing a duel. Nemilia explains that the oath they just made is absolutely binding, and it's not just some gentleman's agreement. Anyone who breaks the oath will taste the torment of hell. Anyway, Nemilia asks if she's Rinka, Rent's party member, right? The latter is shocked. How does she know her name? And that's when Rinka remembers her. She's that lovely lady from Meteor Shower. Nemilia had to say her name aloud for the younger one to know. Anyways, Nemilia continues that she spent the night with Rent, prompting Rinka to ask if they drank alcohol together. Suddenly, Nemilia starts acting shyly, saying Rent was full of manliness despite his calm appearance. This was the first time in a long while that she felt so thrilled. That got Rinka all riled up. Nemilia only drank with Rent, right? They didn't do anything else, right? Nemilia burst out laughing. Of course, she's just kidding. She turns serious. Rinka understands Rent better than anyone, right? Then she should believe in his victory. Rinka says she will. And just then, MP appears on top of her head. The fairy has one final word of assurance. Rent will definitely not lose this match. There's absolutely no way he will. With that, Roger marks the beginning of the duel. Duel, start. As soon as Roger said that, the members of the Sky-Cleaving Sword quickly uncapped their recovery potions and started drinking them, leaving the crowd confused. Wait, what the heck are they doing? Are they already drinking healing potions? Right when the fight had just started? Kai and Misa are even surprised to see Ella drink it voluntarily for the first time ever. The latter says that she can endure at least this much if it's to kill Rent. Speaking of Rent, he tells them that they should drink more, since the amount they drank just now will just be deducted from their daily share. Go on, he can wait. This just annoyed Kai all the more. Rent may be talking with confidence now, but that won't last long. He's one to talk. Still, they did as Rent suggested and kept drinking the recovery potions. In the end, the three of them are still reliant on magic. But now that Rent remembers it, these guys also forced him to drink recovery potions back when he exhausted all of his magical powers back then. Misa even shoved the drink down his throat, forcing him to consume it to recover his energy. She even told him to hand over the magic he stored as soon as he's back on his feet. The nerve of this girl. Then they had the gall to make fun of him when he threw up, which made Rent realize just how hard his life back with them was. Suddenly, Rent hears Jean's voice in the crowd, asking our hero what he was spacing out for. He's in the middle of battle, damn it. Well, that is true because suddenly Kai is in front of Rent, ready to strike. Kai hits him with an explosion strike, with a large what else explosion hitting our hero right where he stood. It almost even blew the other spectators away while Rinka cries out for Rent's name. Kai waited for the smoke to settle, like everyone else, while Rinka watched horrified. There's no way, right? Jean is on the brink of tears, he can't lose his earnings now. Meanwhile, the others are pleased to see Rent is flattened to the ground. After a beat, Kai grins and claims his victory. That was an instant defeat. He and Misa are already laughing it off with her saying he went overboard against such a weak opponent. It's been a while since he used L's reinforcement magic. After all that, before he even realized what he did, Kai had already charged straight ahead. Then he turns to Roger, asking the older man if he saw that. Kai claims that's his true power, but the older man pays no attention to him and is only looking ahead. Why is Roger pulling such a scary face? Rent's piggy bank starts to dispense bills, with Misa crying at the last minute for Kai to look behind him. A giant fireball is about to hit him. Misa managed to save him at the last minute by putting up her magic shield and deflecting the attack. That was a fireball just now, wasn't it? Kai starts looking around, asking, who did it? Comet echoes his question mockingly. Did he really think someone would dare to interfere in a duel supervised by Roger? He's a fool. Once it registers to Kai and Misa what happened, their eyes widen in shock. Misa looks over and sees a silhouette take form in the middle of the smoke. Rent is still alive. She quickly unleashes her flame cyclone on him, but Rent merely shoves his elbow in the air, with the pressure smacking Misa right in the cheek. She falls to the floor, so Kai orders Elle to heal Misa immediately. Unfortunately, Elle is already taken out not a moment later when Rent hits her with 3 consecutive fireballs. The crowd can't believe their eyes. What's this? He used 3 fireballs in a row? And it's even the stronger version of a fireball. Is there even a spell like that? This time, Comet is going nuts. She's calling out Rent for cheating because he cast them without chanting. Even Comet herself can't do that. Now it's Kai's turn to look at him in bewilderment. How can Rent even use magic in the first place? More importantly, Kai knows he landed that hit cleanly. So why is Rent not hurt in the least? What happened to him in the short time they were away from each other? Rinka claps for her teammate, seeing how amazing Rent is. Is his invincibility the result of the infinite magic storage? MP grins proudly, saying it's worth it given how they had a hard time acquiring that thing. Flashback to last night. Rent stares at his scroll because finally the 150,000 MP is charged. With that, he finally purchased it. It's none other than Creditor's Protection. He's pleased because tomorrow he can finish tomorrow's duel without any losses. It took some time to save up for it, but it's a skill he knows he'll need later. Even if the debtor loses his mind and attacks Rent, he'll be able to protect himself with this skill. The effect of creditor's protection is that it negates the damage from the debtor's attacks up to a certain limit. The amount of damage nullified is proportional to the amount of debt they owe, as seen in how Kai attacks Rent with all his might right now with Sky Slash. But Rent remains unmoved. Rent holds Kai's blade and assesses it for a bit. It's such a shame because this is a mithril sword, but it's all worn out now. Did Kai even take care of it? Kai's jaw drops at how he cannot believe his eyes with Rent remaining unscathed. From the side, MP says that fools who borrowed hundreds of thousands of MP can't even scratch Rent. Well, Rent deduces that the sky-cleaving sword's priority now is healing potions, so there's no money left for their group to buy repair elixirs. With one flick of his blade, Rent breaks Kai's sword in half. The other half of the blade was sent flying to the crowd, who started panicking until Foga grabbed it mid-air. Foga looks at the blade, wondering if he can sell this to a blacksmith or a metal dealer. Back to the fight. Kai trembles in anger. He sees that both Misa and Ella are out of it, so it's just him. He yells out in frustration at the top of his lungs, blacking out in anger as he lunges toward Rent. But the guys didn't even make contact as Rent hit him with a fireball at point-blank range that sent Kai flying back. Oh ho! The crowd goes wild because the duel is finally over. They're impressed with how strong Rent is while Comet continues to cry out that it's cheating. Kai could barely even raise his head when he finally saw that Rent was on his side. There was something demonic in the way Rent's eyes lit up, telling the former to give it back to him. Rent wants his magical power back, and he wants it now. Kai can only stare and mutter that there's nothing left right now. Besides, he already used it all up with that skill, but Rent kicks him square in the face for talking back. Namilia and Rinka are alarmed. Something's wrong. Meanwhile, Rent continues forcing Kai to give him his MP back. Kai should stop spouting nonsense in his sleep. He's a hopeless fool. Suddenly, Rent points the tip of her blade right at the latter's forehead, saying Kai still has something here, a new soul. By now, Rent sits right next to him, rambling about how he doesn't know how much Kai's soul will be worth when converted. But maybe it will help with repaying the debt, no? But then again, Kai's soul will be pulled from the cycle of reincarnation and remain lost in the eternal void. But who gives a crap? Rent continues with an evil grin plastered on his face, saying it has nothing to do with him. Kai calls out to Rent, but no, this sinister person before him. Just who is he? Rent puts a coin inside his trusted piggy bank before snickering and jiggling it. From the sounds alone, it looks like he already saved up quite a bit, huh? His piggy speaks and asks him if that was enough for him. Of course not, he wants more. Mr. Piggy directs his attention to them. Not far from where they were standing, Kai, Misa, and Elle are seated together at a nearby table. Mr. Piggy tells Rent that those guys are carrying what he seeks. Without any preamble, Rent crashes to their table, demanding that they give him all those bags of coins. He shoves Kai, telling the latter that all they're holding is his now, literally kicking up a fuss. He's acting like a greedy gremlin when he hears a faint voice calling his name. Before long, he realizes that it's Rinka's as she pulls him back. Huh? The latter is still holding on to him with Rinka crying, telling him that everything is okay now. Our hero turns and sees that Kai and the others lie unconscious on the ground, nearly burned to a crisp, just as Roger calls it off. Rent is the winner. Rent is having a hard time processing what happened, but Roger is already onto him, congratulating him for his crushing victory. The older man thought that Rent would stop halfway through and show some mercy to those three, but Rent finished them off without a shred of compassion. Seeing him act ruthlessly got her shivering, but, how is he supposed to react to that? Roger notices that Rent looks a little troubled. What's wrong? Our hero admits that right before the end of the match, he blacked out and hasn't remembered what happened since. But judging from how much the spectators and other adventurers are cheering for him right now, it looks like he did quite a number. According to them, Rent had demon-like features, as he enjoyed raining down one fireball after another like a finishing blow to his enemies. In an instant, all three of them turned into charred chunks of meat. Eh? Did he really do that? Roger assures him that it's okay. Rent didn't kill them. Besides, a guild staff member will treat them later. Speaking of, here she comes now. Still, Namilia chips in, asking Roger if he couldn't stop the match earlier. Little Rinka cried, you know? Roger has his reasons. With a huff, he shares that the thing he hates scums who betray their comrades and sink into filth the most in the world. If anything, what he did to them was nothing more than the rightful punishment. As for Rent's missing memory, Roger thinks that our hero most likely lost himself during the fight because all the suppressed anger inside him suddenly burst out. Rent remembers the night he was kicked out of the party, being beaten and humiliated by them, so that reasoning wasn't too hard to believe for him. Out of nowhere, Comet whacks him on the back and calls him Cheater Rent. She attaches herself to his back like a koala, demanding our hero teach her how to cast spells consecutively without cooldowns. She finds it ridiculous that Rent is the only one who could do that. In a desperate act, she even starts to pull his face when Rent says those are only possible because of his unique gift. But Comet won't take no for an answer. Ultimately, Roger had to grab her off him, telling her that she shouldn't tire out the poor guy. He's already exhausted as it is. Now we turn our attention to the members of the Sky-Cleaving Sword. All three of them are still out cold. And it wasn't until the guild healer doused them with something in a bucket that they started to liven up. Kai is the first to complain, as always, about the way the liquid burns his already burned skin. The healer tells him that it's a healing potion for external wounds, though it's cheap and full of impurities. He dares to talk back, stressing that he's injured. She should be treating him more gently, but this lady ain't no pushover. She glares back at them, telling Kai he mouths off a lot, before reminding them that they're the ones cutting back on costs, right? That shut them up. Just then, Elle notices someone approach her from behind. It's Rent. She tries to get up in a panic, but all Rent does is say that he's the winner of this duel. So now they will make a new pledge with him to raise the interest rate to 10%. Misa and Kai were quick to act on impulse. They're not accepting this. Why should they pay him back more than they borrowed in the first place? The answer came to them in a jolting pain that left them gasping for air. These idiots really forgot about the binding spell, huh? The guild representative reminds them that the duel's pledge is binding and cannot be broken. A mere refusal can cost them their lives, you know? Kai was close to blacking out before he decided to tap out and agreed, because what choice did they have? Rent was quick to act on their contract renewal, and soon that familiar sigil appeared on the nape of their necks. He reiterates the terms of the contract. Starting tomorrow, the 7th of the month, they'll be able to collect about 90,000 MP of the magic energy he lent them. Thus, under this contract, the three are required to pay 15,339 MP as interest within 10 days. However, Rent also knows that even if they combine their natural mana recovery with the recovery from the bracelets, there's still a shortage of about 38,000 MP. That alarmed Kai, but Rent couldn't give a crap. Before he walked away, our hero told them that they should make up for that shortage with magic potions or, I don't know, figure something out by themselves. Elle laments how they're going to do that when their money is almost out. Ever the complainer, Kai points out that potions aren't free as well. Rent already did the math, telling them that's about 77 potions in total, which isn't exactly an impossible amount. Kai tries to argue again with these insane numbers, and Misa is the only one sensible enough to question what will happen to them if they can't pay in full. Rent says with finality that everything will be over. He gives them one last warning, saying they shouldn't even think of doing anything foolish because they're debtors. A debtor has no right to inflict even the slightest harm on their creditor. This is all thanks to his unique skills effect, so now Kai finally understands why their attacks never affected Rent at all. With that said, Rent tells them to do their best in the next 10 days to pay back what they owe. The only thing the three of them could do was glare at Rent, with Kai muttering again that this isn't over. Later that day, the pub is in high spirits as they celebrate Rent's victory, especially Jean. The buff guy couldn't contain his joy at Rent's victory, but our hero just knows it's because Jean won big time during the betting because of him. A couple of unfamiliar voices also joined in and congratulated Rent on his win. Rent and Jean turn to see that it's the two-headed Silver Wolf's party. Sinistra says it's been a hot minute since they last met, with Rent approaching them to ask why they came to Melva. She answers that they came because of a certain mission, and since she's at it, Sinistra shares that they came in the same carriage as the Sky-Cleaving Sword, with the eyes of a dead fish. Destra says the group was even worse than they imagined, contrary to their reputation. Not only that, but they were also extremely rude and struggled fighting against a single ogre. It's quite the pitiful sight. Sarika adds that word already spread that Rent beat them up real good, and she had only hoped to see it with their own eyes, a sentiment Shannon also shared. In his mind, Rent couldn't believe the hate that his former party mates are getting. Jean calls out to Rent, telling him to say something since he's the star of the night, so he might as well say something. Our boy didn't expect to be put on the spot like that as the whole pub went quiet. Rent begins by saying how he got kicked out of the Sky-Cleaving Sword party and thought that at that moment, everything was over. He fell into despair, but thanks to the friendship and loyal companions he found, he was able to get back on his feet. Now he's starting his adventurer journey from scratch, so he hopes everyone will continue to support his new party Double Deviation. There was a pregnant pause before the whole pub erupted in cheers. Attaboy! They cheer him on, saying he shouldn't worry about those guys anymore, and they're looking forward to working with him. Roger feels his speech is a bit stiff, but Namilia counters that's just Rent being himself, which makes it all the more special. Rent and Rinka look at each other and smile. Much later that night, when it's only the three of them at the inn, MP gives the I told you so speech to Rinka. See, Rent is bound to win no matter what. The fairy relishes the fact that those fools were absolutely humiliated in front of everyone, so their pride must be shattered by now. Anyway, Rinka says Rent was pretty amazing today, though she did find him scary at the same time. He can only apologize for what he unconsciously did, but now that Rinka remembers it, Rent claims that his memory vanished, no? Rent says that is so, and Roger told him that maybe he lost control of himself out of anger. But when Rent tried to recall what happened, it felt different. It was strange and repulsive. What overtook him that time didn't feel like mere anger, and honestly, he doesn't know how to describe it. The best he could say is that it was something ominous, like a feeling of overwhelming evil. Hearing him say that, MP keeps quiet and just smiles a little. Rinka slashes away at the enemy, with Rent hyping her up from the back. She believes this isn't enough because she still needs to become stronger. Suddenly, something swift cut through her side. It was the quad skeleton from before. As blood splatters, and right when she was about to lose consciousness, the last image she sees is Rent running over to her. At the inn, Rent also sits in his bed with MP asking him what happened. Our boy tells her that he just remembered what happened back then. Was he referring to that malicious intent? That's exactly what Rent is talking about, because now that he thinks about it, when Rinka charged into the goblin horde, she was also fighting as if she had lost awareness just like him during the fight earlier today. He turns to MP and it makes him think that maybe their unique skill is something extremely dangerous. The fairy assures him that he shouldn't worry. It all boils down to how he uses it, and besides, he has her on his side. But Rent only looks at her wordlessly. Now he really looks worried. The two of them start bickering over it when they hear a knock on his door. Rent opens it and sees Rinka standing outside looking anxious. She feels bad for bothering him so late at night, but Rent invites her over as she opens up about how she keeps having those nightmares every night. She can't thank Rent enough for helping her improve each day. But back then, the despair she felt when her sword shattered has been on her mind ever since. Rent understands how she feels, and in his case, he decided to put an end to it today in his own way. From his former teammates' attitude alone, he knew that they had no intention of paying back the magic they owed him. This is why in 10 days he'll bring it all to an end. Next time he tells Rinka that it will be her turn to finish it. She must defeat the quad skeleton with her own hands. The next day, at the flower garden near the inn, Rinka sits by the flower bed, admiring their beauty. A little girl tells her that the city of Melva is a place where people from all over the world gather, which explains why they get seeds from all kinds of flowers. Rinka points out the ones she knows, Goremutsu Yusa and Melva Asagao. Rinka notices that this garden is for flowers that bloom in the morning, and the other garden is for ones that bloom in the evening. Wow, she didn't expect the girl to separate the flowers by their blooming time, which is pretty neat. But the girl is more amazed at her. How did Rinka even notice that? Moreover, how does she know so much about flowers? Before Rinka could answer, Rent came with a brand new fit. He apologizes for running late since getting these new pieces of equipment took some time for him. Our boy really went all out with a coat worth 300k gold, a chest piece worth 150 grand, and travel boots that cost 35,000 gold. Speaking of new equipment, Rent asks her if she's not replacing her armor. Well, Rinka tried several different ones, but in the end, the armor she's wearing now is the best for her. At the mention of armor, a little girl suddenly appears, asking Rinka if she's looking for armor. Both she and Rent turn to this girl when the latter notices Rinka's katana. Oh ho, the girl's eyes start twinkling because she couldn't believe it. Could this miss be a samurai? But Rinka has no idea who or what that even is. Too late though, because the kid grabs her, saying they definitely have to visit their shop because they've got just the perfect items for her. The flower girl can only sigh at this other girl, Suzu, for being pushy about their store again. Rent follows along, and soon enough they find themselves in a shop that's everything Japanese. The duo stares in awe because they've never seen products like these before. Suzu welcomes them to their shop, Yagyudo, where they deal in goods related to the Far East. Rinka checks out one of the paper lamps on display, curious because this is the first time she has heard of the Far East. On the other hand, Suzu's having the time of her life, having Rinka try out the shop's items, like this samurai headgear she puts on her head. The little girl explains that it's a helmet once worn by a shogun, something ranked even higher than a samurai. Samurai or shogun, what does it matter? Because Rinka is swaying side to side with how heavy that thing is. So it's no surprise when Rinka hit her head on a nearby raccoon figure, smashing half of its face. Suzu panics, but she assures Rinka that it was just something she picked up nearby, making Rent a little suspicious of her. Anyway, the little girl continues to market their peculiar products. How about they try this item? If they raise this during battle, it will erase their enemy's will to fight. Rent's not sold with it because why the hell does it sound so shady? Well, how about these rice cakes? If they feed these rice cakes, that's definitely a hell no for Rent. Anyway, he thinks they spent too much time in this sketchy shop, so he was about to walk out the door, bidding Suzu goodbye. But the little girl pulls him back. She's not going to let them leave unless they buy something from the shop. How about this mask? She forcefully places it on Rent's head, saying it will make him the star of the party if he wears it. From her eyes alone, Rent knows this kid means business, so he calls Rinka and says they should make a run for it. But Rinka's eyes are glued to the floral kimono displayed in one corner. She can't help but admire its beauty when an older man appears, telling her that the piece of cloth is called a kimono. Moreover, it's dyed with fine silk threads and with the blood of a mythical creature called Shujo. The older man walks over the kimono, explaining that the fabric may be delicate, but when you channel magic through it, its defensive power increases. Rinka's eyes are still glued on the item. So that's a kimono, huh? The older man welcomes them to their shop. It's been a while since he's had a customer, and to that, Suzu happily chimes in that she dragged them here. The older man scolds Suzu, as he noticed that these customers are forced in as usual. She fires back that this is much better than her father, who doesn't do anything at all. The older man turns to Rinka and sees that she's carrying a sword. Could she be a samurai? She says she's not. Rent joins in and asks him what samurai even means. The older man explains that samurai are warriors who came from the Far East. They fight in close combat that relies on speed as they cut down their enemies with the sword. The samurai's clothing is called a kimono, which is just like the one they have displayed here at the shop. He recalls how once, when he went on trade, the older man got captivated by the clothes' beauty, so he decided to make it one of his shop's products. After hearing his explanation, Rinka thinks that these samurai people are actually close to her own fighting style. Rent is already on her side, excited because wouldn't Rinka and the kimono be a perfect pair? Honestly, she's also curious about it. So Rinka asks the shop owner how much the kimono is. The old man tells her that it costs roughly 2,500,000 gold. Nani? Even Suzu finds his pricing outrageous. But her old man claps back that, sure, they could use ordinary fabric and make it cheaper, but he would never allow that. Rinka is already ushering Rent outside because that price is too steep for her, while Suzu continues to bicker with her dad. Our hero turns to the older man. Is it really worth such a price? The latter tells him yes. He can vouch for its value since it's made of top-quality fabric with intricate embroidery. Rent tells him they'll take it, pulling out a bag of coins from his bag, leaving the three others shocked, especially Rinka. Our hero turns to her, saying if this gives her a chance to be the best in battle, then it's a pretty cheap price. Rinka still has trouble accepting it because that amount is way out of her pocket. Well, if that happens, Rent says that they can just earn more money from the dungeon later if their budget runs short. Besides, he also saw how she looked at the kimono earlier. Her face clearly showed how she fell in love at first sight with the item. Rinka is touched by Rent's gesture, not knowing that Suzu was also listening to them. The little girl decides to hand them a freebie. Here, they can have this mask for free for being such generous customers. Now then, Suzu's father tells Rinka to come with him. She does as instructed, but Right now they're outside with Rinka holding a wooden sword. The older man also has one and comments on how it's been a long time since he has had a request like this. Anyway, what he wants is to spar with Rinka a little. He needs to do this so he can adjust the kimono to match her movements. Rinka is happy to oblige, but she really thought this man would only take her measurements. Meanwhile, Rent and Suzu are on the sides, with our hero asking if her father is strong. After pondering for a little, Suzu says her father is as strong as much as a hobbyist can be. This made Rent worry a little for Rinka. After all her battles up until now have been purely against monsters. But then again, maybe fighting another person will be a good experience for her. Alright then. The older man gets into a fighting stance and says they should begin. Rinka gets into position with the older man giving her a heads up. Rent felt a little nervous, and before they knew it, the older man charged straight to her with a thrust. Rinka evades it easily, but the older man already foresaw her doing that. With her torso wide open, he attacks her there. Rinka blocks his attack, but the old man is relentless with his techniques, going on the offensive. Rent couldn't believe the older guy. Such agility. Suzu also praises Rinka for being pretty good herself. But the older man knew better, so he told Rinka to come at him with her full strength. This time, Rinka goes on the offensive and rains a barrage of attacks on the older man. This is exactly what he was talking about. He finds her speed satisfactory, but he knows she still hasn't shown her true seriousness. He was hell-bent on seeing how she would fare, so this time, he hit Rinka with more force. The pressure almost made her knees buckle, and then from her mind she heard a voice telling her to kill him. Just like that, Rinka's eyes sharpened and she went ballistic. This time, the old man can barely keep up his defenses as she lets him have it. Rent sees the sudden change in Rinka, and fearful of what could happen to the older guy, he cries, "Danger!" True enough, Rinka heads straight to her opponent to deliver the finishing blow. But the old guy knew better and cut through her momentum, disarming her as he did so. Rent and Suzu were stunned. Rinka tries to catch her breath, trying to process what just happened. Meanwhile, the older man was already apologizing for using extra force. But in his defense, if they kept at it, this little sparring would have turned into a fight for their lives. With Rinka back to the way she is, she apologizes for the way she acted. Her opponent doesn't mind, in fact he finds her sword technique splendid. But he is curious though and asks her what her gift is. Rinka says it's the Path of Asura, which just confirms the older man's suspicions. Given how it's named after the god of storms, her murder intent earlier was the real deal. All this back and forth and the older man hasn't introduced himself yet, so finally, he tells her that his name is Rindo, the 21st generation of the Yagyu family. Rinka tells her name as well, with Rindo explaining that he'll create a kimono that suits her perfectly based on her swordsmanship just now. They head back inside, where the many different kinds of fabric are on display. Rindo asks if Rinka has a color preference, but instead of colors, the first thing she says is flowers. She asks the older man if they have any designs that have a floral pattern that gives courage just by looking at it. Rindo picks one and unrolls it, showing a pattern of crimson flowers like fire. In the language of flowers, the one he holds means courage. Once she finished choosing a pattern, Suzu took Rinka's measurements. While doing so, the little girl can't help but comment on how strong Rinka is, stating that this was the first time she had ever seen her father this tense before. Rinka thinks Rindo is like the master of the sword, asking Suzu if the older man's gift is related to the sword arts. To Rinka's surprise, Rindo's swordsmanship is actually just a hobby. Suzu relays how when her father was younger he apprenticed under a kimono craftsman. Additionally, he also trained at a dojo of samurai who wore them. Now that she remembers it, her father's gift is actually fire magic. If anything, he once told Suzu that he finds it handy for lighting fires during camping trips. Suzu still has 5 more years before her coming-of-age ritual, leaving her a little excited at what kind of gift she'll receive. Whatever it may be, she only hopes that it could be related to commerce. With her measurements done, Rent and Rinka left the shop. Rindo told them that they'll be finished the day after tomorrow. Rinka is already excited for it, and now that Rent remembers it, he asks if Rinka likes flowers. He noticed how she was so insistent on floral patterns when choosing her fabric. Plus, she also looked so cheerful when she talked about it with the girls by the flower beds. Rinka smiles and tells him that it's because she wanted to become a florist when she was younger. In her hometown, there was a wonderful flower shop where she always gazed at the flowers displayed outside. She had a humble dream of wanting to make customers happy by giving them beautiful flowers. She always believed she could fulfill that dream until the coming-of-age ritual. Because of her gift, Rinka had to give up her dream. She's well aware that you can't always receive the gift you wish for. And she also knows some people manage to chase their dreams without giving in to the restraints of their gifts. However, that voice inside her prohibits her from living her dream. When Rinka is on the battlefield, the voice whispers to her to kill and cut down the enemy. She can't exactly ignore it because whenever she does, her head feels like it's about to explode because of the pain. Rent feels bad for how much she has suffered. However, Rinka adds that even if her gift gave her pain, it has also given her joy too. And the one who taught her how to do that was Rent. Sure, she's also scared of facing terrifying enemies, but she knows it's something she can't avoid, which is why she won't run anymore. Rinka has fully embraced her fate and urges Rent to watch it through the end. Rent nods. He's the lender of magical power, and as long as she's in his debt, he vows to follow her even to the depths of hell. Meanwhile, somewhere else in a shady pub in town, 2 buff and scary-looking adventurers stare at the bag in front of them. 2 hooded figures approach them, requesting an assassination. Spoiler alert, it's those losers from the Skycleaving sword. The bag contains the first payment, which is 100,000 ghoul. Once successful, they will reward them with 10 million gold. This got the 2 interested, so they asked who the target was. Misa tells them that it's Rent from the Double Deviation Party, that cowardly bastard dragging around a filthy piggy bank. Oh, so they're referring to the fool who defeated those 3 B-rank adventurers all by himself a while ago, no? The other guy starts laughing and saying that the losers were the Skycleaving sword. Of course, Kai lost his cool and started picking a fight with them. What the hell did they just say? Misa tries to hold him back, but the other guy is already laughing. The bigger of them tells Kai that they have really gotten famous, but only in the worst way possible. But jokes aside, the bearded guy tells them that, sure, they do a few dirty jobs sometimes, but they're not stupid enough to make enemies of the Meteor Shower Guild. If anything, Rent is practically one of them now. Misa grabs their bag of gold, saying they'll find someone else then. But the guy grabs the bag, saying they need to pay them a cancellation fee. But wait, they have a better idea. Maybe they'll look for someone else to take their request in their place, no? In a loud voice, they announce to everyone that the Skycleaving sword is looking for someone to take their revenge for them. And it's only for 100,000 gold. Many of the other adventurers break into laughter. How pathetic can they be to exact revenge over a duel? But what did they expect? Those losers can't handle it by themselves, which is why they're looking for other people to do it for them. They've fallen to the lowest of the low. Kai is shaking in his boots out of anger, but Misa pulls him back, saying they should get out of there. Back at their inn, Kai vents his frustration to the poor chair, kicking it hard after those adventurers mocked them like that. L adds that what's even worse is that not only did they fail to carry out their request, but those other adventurers even stole their money from them. Kai clenches his fist, thinking that if they had just hit them once instead of running, then it would have been over. As the only level-headed person in the group, Misa points out that in their current state, if they face them now, they'll just end up corpses for sure. L starts to panic. What should they do now? That money was all they had left. They couldn't even afford to pay for an inn anymore. Kai clicks his tongue because this only leaves them with one choice: dungeon exploration. Misa counters that they already sold most of their weapons and armors, but Kai fires back that at least they could hunt goblins. That should be easy, right? That's when he noticed the bracelet he was wearing. What if they sell it? That's an instant hell no from Misa. Is he crazy? Just by wearing those bracelets, they can cover 3,000 MP together. Kai asks her if she really thinks they can afford to care about something like that. There was a glint in Kai's eyes, saying that what they need right now is cash. For sure, this bracelet that they have is insanely rare. If they sell it, he's sure they can make enough to buy 100 recovery potions. The three of them head to the merchant's shop, but according to the latter's assessment, the bracelet is only worth 6,000 gold. This time, both Kai and Misa lost it. Is he blind? The bracelet Aloe can supply 1,000 MP, but the merchant tells them that all he sees is a cheap bracelet, and that they're just deluding themselves. L is too tired and too hungry for all this ruckus. The Skycleaving sword still has 8 days before their repayment deadline. Finally, Rent and Rinka return to the Yagyudo shop to pick up her kimono. While waiting for her, Rent checks out one of the dolls on display, having a stare-off as he finds its eyes are a little creepy, when Suzu happily appears to tell him that they're done. With that, she presents Rinka in a brand new outfit, wearing a proper kimono this time. There was a moment of silence, so Rinka had to ask Rent if the clothes didn't look good on her. Rent flushes a little, telling her that it looks good. MP and Yindo immediately catch something in Rent's reaction, grinning at his reaction to Rinka's new fit. As for the older man, he prides himself on his work. His eyes never fail when it comes to choosing the right fit. He chose a scarlet red hue for the kimono, with the fabric thin and light for easy movement. Once infused with magic, its defensive power increases. The traditional trouser Rinka is wearing is called the hakama and directly contrasts with her scarlet red kimono because of its iron blue color. The hakama is also mixed with mithril powder, making it highly compatible with magical energy. It might look a bit loose and baggy, but it's quite easy to move in the hakama. Additionally, it's also designed to muffle footsteps from the enemies, which is a plus if they want to be discreet. Rindo asks Rinka if she likes the outfit, as if it's not obvious enough how much she loves it. She was so excited that she was the one telling Rent that they should head straight to the labyrinth. And that they did. Double Deviation is currently on the 3rd floor of the Melva Labyrinth. Right now, Rinka has her hands full fighting against skeleton soldiers, cutting them down left and right. On the other hand, Rent remains at her 6 for support, and seeing how she's been doing so well, MP can't help but comment that it looks like Rent will have it easy this time around. Soon enough, Rinka wiped out all the enemies, but before they moved forward, MP asked them for help to gather mana stones. They managed to acquire a handful, filling a medium-sized bag before continuing with their dungeon exploration. Soon enough, they pass through a brick arch and... wait a minute. Rent looks around and recognizes this chamber. This is where he first met Rinka, and where he fought the quad skeleton. He looks at Rinka, and from her reaction alone, it looks like she's also thinking the same. At the far end of the chamber, they see the entrance to the 4th floor of the Melva Labyrinth. It doesn't take a genius to know that their enemies are probably already waiting on the other side. Well, there's no use dilly-dallying, so after a beat, Double Deviation steps right through it. Just like that, both of them are instantly transported to new surroundings. And just like Rent said, there's already a horde of undead soldiers before them. It took a moment before the monsters ran straight to them. But Rent is ready, and he bought this new skill just for this very day. Rent activates multiple skills at once. Support magic for Rinka, increasing her speed, defense, and attack power all at once. She felt the instant surge of MP course through her, so with that, she tells Rent that she'll handle this. With her hand ready to strike, she utters the same monologue before she unleashes her unique skill. As she does so, the horde continues to move closer to them, and with that, she unleashes the path of Asura. With explosive speed and power, she cut through the horde, taking down multiple enemies at once. Alright, a definite wipeout in one sweep. Seeing Rinka also got Rent all fired up to try a new skill too. This time, Rent unleashes his newly acquired wind magic, Windblade. While Rinka cuts through the front, Rent handles the strays and continues to provide support. But that's not all. He also purchased water magic, pulling the other undead in a current with his flowing water skill. The two kept at it, and soon there was no one left to fight. Rent runs over to her, but Rinka assures him that she's fine. Just then, they notice a new army of the undead has appeared, built bigger with their own shields. Not only that, but this time, they have a quad skeleton with them. Rinka locks eyes with the quad skeleton that almost made her crash out, but thankfully Rent grabs her shoulder and assures her that it's okay. Besides, he's right there with her. This helps settle her nerves, but more importantly, those soldiers with shields are pretty annoying. Rent says he'll handle them using his taunt skill. All the soldiers turn to him and quickly run over to attack him. Our hero was ready because right before they reached him, he used earth magic and bound them all together using earth wall. He's got fire, earth, wind, and water magic. We won't be surprised if he comes out and admits he's the next avatar. Back to the story, he emphasizes that he's not the main character for today. It's her, Rinka. She gets into a fighting stance. She unsheathes her katana and runs headfirst to meet the quad skeleton head-on. As their swords clash, the enemy manages to nick her cheek with a small cut, but Rinka is determined to face this monster and emerge as the victor. For this day, she trained relentlessly with Rent, believing fully that she's no longer the same person she was before. She cut off one of its hands, smiling triumphantly for her first win. Rent was even more hyped up for her, while her enemy remained stationary, it seems to be thinking. After a beat, the quad skeleton tossed aside its shield, and with its free hand it grabbed a nearby sword. All of a sudden, the monster was all over Rinka's face, raining multiple attacks on her. Is the monster angry? Then in one strike it thrust all of its swords at Rinka, sending her flying. Rent is quick to rush on her side while she assures him that she's fine. The kimono protected her from the blow, but now she'll finish this. Grabbing her sword with both hands, Rinka begins chanting the monologue to activate her gift. The quad skeleton is already running straight to her, but Rinka remains calm as ever, and finally, she unleashes the Path of Asura again. Then everything went black. Children's voices can be heard, asking Rinka what gift she got. Upon knowing it's a unique gift called the Path of Asura, they crowd around her in awe. That sounds so awesome, it's an SSS rank skill. But before she can even process what's going on, the children are gone, and right before Rinka are her previous party mates. Unlike the children, they scoff at Rinka's unique skill, going as far as calling it nothing but a joke. They even told her that she might as well quit now, while it's still early in her career. Rinka can't make heads or tails of all of this. She points out how the others raise their own hopes and crush themselves in the end. Then she hears something she frequently heard from her ex-party mates. If she weren't with them, then they would have been much stronger by now. This stirred her self-doubt. Is her weakness really her fault? Weren't they the ones who used her as bait and then ran away? That's it, she's had enough. Whether it be the quad skeleton or her previous party members, she'll kill them all with her own hands. Rent watches as the new shield, the enhancement magic, and Rinka's first strike work together perfectly, as seen in how she's dominating the quad skeleton in the fight. With a swift move, she cut off another of the monster's hands, shouting as she did so. That's when Rent finally notices that something's wrong. Rinka is going ham over the quad skeleton, of which the latter stood motionless as the lady swordsman annihilated him. Flashback to earlier that day at the shop, Rindo asks Rent who Rinka is. Before he can answer, the older man notes that Rinka's gift, Path of Asura, and the killing intent she showed him during their battle are concerning. Rindo is not really sure if Rinka knows it, but he senses the danger that she could easily fall into something inhuman. With that said, he asks Rent to keep an eye on her, saying her future rests in his hands. Rent is aware and says she's got Rinka's back. Back to the present. The quad skeleton is done for, but Rinka continues to slash her way to the monster's core. That's because she's not seeing the quad skeleton, but the image of those people who did her wrong. She's filled with hate and fury, hell-bent on killing them until she finally clashes with Rent. He calls out to her, instantly snapping Rinka back to reality, as Rent tells her that it's over now. Wait, just now, was that him she hit? Instead of answering, Rent tells her that last time it was Rinka who saved him. This time, he's repaying the favor. Rinka finally lowers her sword, panting as she tells him how scared she was. She was terrified of losing herself, but no matter the enemy, she was determined never to allow anyone to take Rent away from her. Based on what remains of the quad skeleton behind her, we get it, Rinka. You don't say? They exited the labyrinth, and as soon as they were out, MP was in high spirits and congratulating her for finally taking down that filthy skeleton. But huh? What's up with these two? They look as surly as ever, so the little fairy tries goading them more. They should be celebrating. Rinka tells her that she sensed the evil Rent was talking about. Back then, she was drowning in overwhelming rage. Our protagonist felt the same. During the duel, he was consumed not just by magic, but by an overwhelming desire to seize everything his opponent had. MP keeps listening and then tells them that she believes it's time to tell them the true meaning of an SSS rank gift. The duo is confused. There's another meaning to it? Isn't it just a rarer gift than an S rank? The fairy begins by explaining that it's not just a gift that grants you powerful skills or something rare in this world. It goes much deeper. SSS actually stands for Stigma of 7 Sins. It's the brand of the 7 deadly sins: greed, wrath, gluttony, sloth, lust, envy, and pride. The SSS rank gift is a gift that embodies the 7 sins carried within humans, which is precisely the essence of an SSS gift. The double deviation duo can't believe or understand this. What does this all mean? MP says rent represents greed, the overwhelming desire to seize everything. Rinka, on the other hand, represents wrath, the desire to surrender herself to fury and destroy everything. And they're exactly the evil they sensed when they blacked out. Rent becomes alarmed, questioning MP why she didn't tell them this sooner. In her defense, she thought they would understand it better after experiencing that evil personally. So now, her only request is that they do not let the evil consume them and use that power carefully. Rinka doesn't understand why the god of creation would grant them these gifts. Well, who knows? MP says the thoughts of Yggdrasil are far beyond what a mere little gift spirit like her could comprehend. Did Rent hear that right? Yggdrasil? Like in Ragnarok? What's next? Thor makes an appearance? Anyway, MP wraps up her explanation and flies away. For sure, the two of them are already exhausted physically and mentally after fighting such a strong enemy, right? She suggests they should head back now. But Rent has one last question for her. She's on their side, right? She stares at him for a second longer before saying she's nothing but a support spirit. Her job is simply to guide her master, you know? But unknown to him, MP starts snickering secretly. I knew this little bugger was off to do something no good. The next day at the guild rep slams a fat bag of coins at the counter. Opposite her, the members of the Skycleaving Sword, who are looking worse for wear, listen as she thanks them for their efforts in exterminating the goblins. With that said, she hands them their reward, which is a total of 50,000 gold. Of course, they use this money to buy recovery potions, given how they have 5 days remaining until the deadline of their debt repayment with magic. The three of them sit together with the potions spread at the table. Misa can't believe they barely managed to cover it. But they did put in the work by hunting goblins daily. So now, she tells her party members that starting today, each of them has to drink 5 potions daily. But even if they do that, they'll still fall short by 2 potions. Ella, being the complainer that she is, slumps over the table. This is impossible! Misa points out how Ella gave her all during the duel, to which the latter counters that it was a special situation. Misa warns her that if she doesn't drink today, then she'll have to drink 10 potions tomorrow. Besides, they also don't have any spare potions to cover for her. Kai is more forceful, scolding Elle to just stop whining and drink it already. Elle starts acting like a brat and runs off, saying she doesn't want to do it. Misa and Kai can't believe the guts of that girl, as if they don't have enough problems as it is. Elle goes straight to the guild, with Kai and Misa on her tail, asking why she's acting so hard-headed about this. The guild rep welcomes her, and without any preamble, Elle straight up tells the guild rep that she's quitting the Skycleaving Sword. This girl is desperate, reasoning out that since the magic is registered under Skycleaving, the debt won't apply to her if she quits the party. Kai can't believe her. Traitor? Is she planning to run away alone? But to his greater shock, Misa says she will quit too. The guild rep first confirms if they're sure about their withdrawal from the Skycleaving Sword. If they leave together, the party will automatically disband. Are they really sure about that? Without a hint of hesitation, they both tell her that they're sure. Wait a minute. This time it's Kai who is desperate. Come on, this was the party they raised all the way to rank B. How can they end it so casually? But Misa doesn't give a flying crap. She scoffs, asking what was wrong with that. Meanwhile, the guild rep continues processing their disbandment, with Misa telling Kai that once the party dissolves, it will cancel out their debt, right? Kai can't believe her. Memories of the times they spent together flood his mind. It's 5 years of their lives together, but Elle and Misa are just done with it. They check their parchments because finally their debt is gone. Or so they thought. Kai scrambles to the counter, ordering the guild rep to cancel what happened just now. But the latter says she can't do it because the process is already complete. With that, the Skycleaving Sword Party has been officially dissolved. The other adventurers present there were quiet, but all eyes were on them as the guild made the announcement official. Meanwhile, Misa can't believe what she's seeing. They just made everything worse because now, the debts are registered individually, and she's still short of 15,021 MP. With that, she could only tremble in her boots as it dawned upon her that escaping repayment is impossible. 4 days into the repayment deadline, it's now only Misa and Elle left at the local inn, drinking recovery potions just to fill in their MP for repayment. 3 days into the repayment deadline, Ella gave up and hid under the covers, while Misa was banging her head furiously into the wall. 2 days into the repayment deadline, Kai is out in the streets and bumps into a random stranger without any apology. The latter was about to call him out when his friends held him back. Wasn't that dude the ex-swordsman of the Skycleaving Sword? Wait, X? Why X? A third guy relays how he heard that the Skycleaving Sword quarreled among themselves. Thus, the party disbanded. What's more, their party lost in disgrace in the duel witnessed by Sir Roger. This washed-up dude they're looking at is nothing but a failure of a man. Suddenly, Kai throws the recovery potion at the man he bumped into, saying he's not finished yet. Shabby as he looks, there's still fire in his eyes as he tells them that he's not finished yet, or so he thought. Because a moment later, the three guys gang up on him intending to finish him. A day before the repayment deadline, Rent, Rinka, and MP are living the chill life, having a meal at one of the local restaurants. Rent checks his parchment and deduces that at this rate it looks like they really won't be able to pay back, something MP is obviously pleased about. Unlike them, Rinka is worried about what will happen if they can't pay off the debt. Could those three really throw their lives away? Rent tells her not to worry, and it's MP who answers on his behalf. If those three idiots die, then they can't recover the magic or interest owed to Rent in the first place. But that still doesn't sound reassuring for Rinka, so Rent tells her again not to worry. Even if his gift is suspicious, infinite magic storage is also a gift used to support his companions. With this, he'll help Rinka grow, which he too will also do. He vows not to become a greedy human who devours until he self-destructs. After saying that, Rent chugs the beer down and low-key regrets what he did. With a groan, he gets up from the table because it looks like he's had too much to drink. He tells Rinka he'll be outside to get some night air. As soon as he's gone, Rinka's frown remains on her forehead. Ever since that day, she noticed how Rent has been drinking more and more. Maybe he's also anxious just like her. Outside, Rent sits at one of the boxes with a sigh. The brand of the 7 sins, huh? Now that he thinks about it, it means that in this world, 5 others carry SSS-ranked gifts like them, no? It made him wonder if those 5 individuals are also suffering because of the gifts they have. Just like him and Rinka. Suddenly, he hears someone from the side greet him with a good evening. The familiar figure approaches him gingerly, saying they haven't met since the duel, with Rent's eyes widening as he sees that it's Misa. Rent is stunned because she's the last person he expects to see tonight. Before he can say anything else, Misa tells him not to be too cautious, reminding him that she can't even make a scratch on him even if she tried. But Rent remains guarded, asking Misa what she wants. All of a sudden, she bows her head and apologizes to him, saying this was all her fault, but Rent remains wary. Misa continues that she acted hastily and called him incompetent, but all Rent does is ask if she got kicked out of the party. Seeing how Kai and Ella aren't with her, it's only natural to assume that no? She didn't expect him to look for the other two, but wait, Rent gets it now. Is Misa trying to survive on her own? Misa is speechless, but Rent is already up on his feet muttering about how he knew she hadn't changed one bit. Unfortunately, she can't do anything right now because it's too late. He turns his back on her and is about to head inside, but not before telling her that what he wants is not an empty apology, but a sincere repayment for the magic power she borrowed. The sun will rise soon, and if she doesn't return before then, the consequences will be dire. Misa grabs his arm, and when Rent flicks his arm to remove her grip, she suddenly kisses him. She even French-kissed Rent, but thankfully our boy knew better now and shoved her away. He glares at her, but Misa is still smiling even though she's on the ground. As a desperate attempt, she turns to nostalgia, asking if he still remembers that time in the carriage when they left the village. To this day, she says she still thinks she should have done something in that moment. However, she didn't have the courage back then, lowering her head as she apologized to him truly. Take a guess what she says next. If you bet Misa says I love you to Rent, then you got it right. So yeah, Misa tells our hero that she loves him, saying they should set off together again on an adventure brimming with excitement and thrill. Meanwhile, inside the pub, Rinka notices that Rent seems to be taking too long. MP thinks that her master must have drunk too much and passed out. Suddenly, Rinka gets up abruptly, saying she needs to check up on him ASAP. Rinka wanders outside, calling out to Rent, and when she turns the corner, she sees him and Misa standing together. Rinka became alert because it's the witch of the sky-cleaving sword. She grabs her weapon, shouting at Misa to get away from Rent. As soon as she said it, Misa grabbed a wand from her bag and cast magical restraint on Rinka. Chains appeared out of nowhere, rendering Rinka immobile while Rent calls out to her friend, worried. But more importantly, how can Misa learn magic? The witch shows her wand, saying it's charged with magical energy. She's pretty impressed that they do sell amazing items like this here, though the downside is that you have to pay a higher price, and you can only use it once. Before he can do anything, Misa warns him not to move as she keeps her wand pointed at Rinka. Now she wants her curse lifted pronto, and if he doesn't do that, then she'll strike down Rinka with the full brunt of her magic at point-blank range. Misa shoves the tip of her wand to Rinka's cheeks, making good of her threat. Rent doesn't want her to turn into charred flesh, right? And while she's at it, Misa also makes it clear that there's no way in hell she admires a coward like Rent. And just what was he spouting about that lending magic bullcrap? It's not like him at all. Rent tells her instead that the stricter you are, the more people will hate you. But if you're too kind, like what happened to him in the past, then they might become prey to some opportunists, plundering them to the last drop. Rent vows he will never allow that to happen ever again. With that, he makes a step toward them, making Misa defensive. Didn't she tell him not to move? But Rent continues to walk toward them, making eye contact with Rinka before nodding. Rinka taunts Misa to just try it. Let's just see who's the true coward between them. Of course, that struck a nerve in Misa, infuriating her. Okay, that's it, she's really going to do it. She casts Firestorm, but Rent doesn't look worried. Why? It's because the night has ended. It's over. True to his word, the morning flowers start blooming at the flower bed in the city center. Misa still has her wand pointed at Rinka, but nothing is happening. The magic won't come out. What's even worse for her is that the chains binding Rinka are all starting to disintegrate as well. As soon as the Lady Samurai's hand is free, she quickly draws her sword and cuts Misa's wand. The latter stares at what's left of her wand. Why isn't her magic working? At that, Rent suggests she try checking her status or something. Misa quickly rummages through her bag for her parchment. There, it's listed that she's now a C-rank witch, but what's even more shocking is that she no longer has any skills. No way, all her skills are gone. That's when Rent starts listing her skills from his parchment. Fire magic is 1110 MP and magic control is 550 MP. She still has a magic loan of 5,500. It turns out Rent converted all the skills she has into magical power, but there's still a deficit. So he turned the gifts into magic as well. Misa can't believe it, but what Rent says is absolute. The wicked debtors are merciless. With that, he and Rinka turn away from her, saying he'll see her again in 10 days and reminding her not to forget the magic repayment. Misa is still in shock but calls out to him, collapsing on her knees. What is she supposed to do now? Suddenly, Misa hears an unfamiliar voice, complaining about how they went through a terrible ordeal. The former almost crapped her undies, scared of the voice. Who are you? And she becomes even more terrified as MP suddenly pops right into her face with that devilish grin of hers. Misa panics, desperately moving away from MP out of horror. This is not real, this is just an illusion. This is just the effect from overdosing on the potions, right? Too bad for her. MP is right there, and she made it a point to introduce herself this time. As for her master, she thanks Misa because she was the reason Rent finally awakened. Because Misa and the others never repaid the magical energy they borrowed from him, the desire to be repaid grew deep within him, which resulted in Rent gaining the current power he has. However, MP points out that there is another way to awaken the gift that stores magic. When one is able to repay a certain amount of magical energy, now, if only they had started repaying Rent from the beginning, the MP's master would have already awakened. Wait, Misa is confused. It's possible if they repay him? The little fairy tells her that it's true. If only the sky-cleaving sword that obtained the infinite magic reservoir had stuck around, they would have easily become an A-rank party by now. Unfortunately, reality is a far cry from that. Does Misa know why? No need to answer, it's because MP says they're scum. Misa grabs MP and angrily throws her to the ground. How dare this little creature mock them? As if that's not enough, Misa starts stomping on MP as she airs out her frustrations. Just who the hell is she to call Misa and the others scum? If anything, Rent is the one dirtier and more depraved than they are. He's the one who completely ruined their lives. She kept stomping on MP until the little fairy was nothing but a bloody mess on the ground. But of course, MP is still grinning like a devil, asking Misa if she feels better now. The bloodied look of the little creature sent shivers down Misa's spine, especially when MP tells her that no matter what they do, they will never escape the repayment hell. The following day, a crowd gathers along the street that Rindo and Suzu pass along. Naturally, they became curious as they heard the bystanders wondering if she was still breathing. Rindo peeks and sees Misa looking so out of it, recovery potion in hand, as he hears people say that this is a potion overdose and that they should call a doctor ASAP. Just then, she starts shoving her fingers in her mouth until one of them finally recognizes her. Isn't she the witch from the sky-cleaving sword? Rindo asks what that was, so the latter explains that it was the name of an adventurer's party. Pretty strange name if you ask him. From what he heard, they were the fastest party to rise to B rank in history, but from the looks of it, they had already disbanded. A couple of good Samaritans started helping Misa, but she was too out of it to realize what they were doing. Rindo and Suzu move along, with the old man muttering about how weird the name Sky-Cleaving Sword is, because what was the point of cutting the sky anyway? The sky was made to fly, right? On the other hand, Rinka and Rent meet up for today's adventure. She asks him what he thinks about aiming for the 5th floor of the dungeon today. But no, our hero has other plans. What if they try looking for work at the guild from now on? On top of that, they could also take on some requests because he wants to spread the name Double Deviation across the world. This may lead them to meet the bearer of the Mark of the 7 Sins. At that, MP asks him what he will do next if he meets him. Rent wants to save him from the evil intent of that gift. Who knows? Maybe this is actually his mission after gaining this power. MP leans close to Rinka. What did she tell her? MP's master is that kind of stupid. Rent heard that, but he still had to ask the fairy if she dared to call him an idiot. In her defense, that was just her way of praising him. Rinka cuts into their conversation, telling him of what could happen. Those people may be hostile when they meet him, which Rent just realized now. Yeah, that may be the case, but if that happens, Rinka vows to protect him. They smiled at each other as they finally came to an agreement. With that, they head to the guild to look for requests right away. Meanwhile, somewhere else in this world, a lone man trudges along an open field. He has long hair and cracked lips when he notices a poster attached to a fence. His focus instantly lands on two words: magical power. Well, it turns out it was a job ad from Rent, and a poor drawing at that, offering up to 5,000 MP. Additionally, the poster states that Rentoka and the other professionals await him in Willard Village. The man quickly grabs the poster because this is it. This is his dream: obtaining magical power. Finally, his dream is coming back again. A priest hands a parchment to an extended hand, but not before telling the owner of this hand to offer their prayers to the god of creation. The knights gather around the person, eager to know what kind of gift he will receive. Meanwhile, some others start calling out to this person excitedly. "It's Lord Vangi," they say. They were already expecting that he would get an extraordinary gift, while the young man smiles as he unrolls his parchment. Just then, someone shoves the priest to the ground. An older knight demands that he repeat the ritual. There must have been some mistake. Other men try to hold their commander back from raging, but the priest says that this is divine revelation. The commander couldn't believe his ears, because does this mean his son Vangi is actually abandoned by the god of creation? Poor Vangi holds his parchment in hand with no skill or rank to show. Back to the present. At the entrance to the great labyrinth of Melva, a hand reaches out to the other side, but the labyrinth refuses to show itself. The hand belongs to a dark-skinned, scantily clad girl, and right behind her is a pair of adventurers asking what she was doing. In reply, she tells them that they can't enter the great labyrinth, of which both adventurers point out that she needs to go to the guild to submit a request before she's allowed to challenge it. But Miss Xena, the warrior princess knockoff right here, says she can't do that because she doesn't have a gift. There was a pause before both men burst out laughing. No way, she's actually one of the ungifted? Well, step aside then. One of the guys shoves her aside, explicitly saying that this place is only for adventurers. The other one adds that if she doesn't have a gift, then she should stay home and play with the children. Wow, sexism in the year of our Lord 2025. She's a fool for thinking she could even enter the labyrinth. Those without a blessing aren't even allowed to think about the challenge. But to their surprise, the girl is already up and has her weapon drawn. Meanwhile, at the guild, Rent scours the bulletin board, looking for requests they can take up. So far, they have seen requests for guarding cargo wagons, and there's even a search for a lost dog. Imagine that. Rent's eye is already glimmering, wondering which they should pick. But is there like hunting for a dragon or something? Just then, they hear dragging sounds. And when Rent turns to see what it was, he's met with two knocked-out adventurers and a dark-skinned woman telling the guild rep that those two are D-rank adventurers. What's more, she even killed one earlier. With that said, she proclaims she's stronger than rank D, so will they acknowledge her as an adventurer now? Obviously, this isn't the first time this girl has acted like this because the guild rep looks as if she's done with her. Still, she explains to the latter that those without a gift cannot register as adventurers. Well, the Amazon-like woman says it's going to be a problem for her because if she can't register, then she can't enter the labyrinth. The guild rep feels bad, but that's just part of the guild union's rules. Well, if that's the case, then the woman says she'll just have to prove she's stronger. Gosh, she's dumb. The guild rep is just about fed up. This isn't about strength or weakness. It's about having a gift or not. This just piqued Rent's interest. Did he hear that right? She has no gift? Just then, the girl calls out to the nearest adventurer, asking what his rank is. The latter is close to crying, shaking in his armor as he tells her that he's just a beginner swordsman. The girl continues to question every single adventurer within her vicinity about their age, and finally she locks eyes with Rent. Well, crap. Before he can even look away, suddenly she's right in front of our protagonist's face, asking what his rank and gift are. She goes on asking if it's higher than and stronger than rank D, because if it were, then she'll fight him. This girl is way too close for comfort, so Rinka steps in between them, asking the former what she wants with Rent. Rinka also shows her parchment, introducing herself, her gift, and her SSS rank. Oh ho, SSS, but what does SS even mean? Miss Bikini has no idea what that is, so Rinka had to explain that it's higher than S itself. Wait, S? That was the first time the former had heard of that, with Rinka adding that rank S is higher than rank A. Higher than an A? So if SSS is higher than that, the bikini girl figures that if she beats Rinka, then that would make her the strongest. She grabs her club as it finally dawns upon her that Rinka is the strongest. All of a sudden, she slams her club, which Rinka evades swiftly. But this girl is all fired up, saying that if she beats Rinka, then she'll finally prove she's the strongest. Of course, the ruckus got the guild rep mad at the girl. She orders her to stop causing more trouble or else she'll ban her from entering the guild. Rent apologizes profusely, but more importantly, just who the hell is that woman? The guild rep says her name is Shiryu, and according to reports, she has just recently arrived in the city of Melva. But wait, Rent had just heard earlier that Shiryu didn't have a gift, did she? The guild rep tells him that it is so because during Shiryu's coming-of-age ritual, she never received one. Outside the guild, a crowd gathers around. The falling meteor party arrives just in time, and of course, you'd bet your butt Roger is already excited to see what the commotion was all about. Just then, he spots Rinka in the middle of it. Isn't that Rent's companion? From the looks of it, she has a hard time defending against Bikini Babe over here. Rinka is already panting, but she's more concerned that her opponent is the type who won't leave her alone unless they settle this with a fight. If she uses First Strike here, then everything would be over in an instant, but she can't use it against a human. Suddenly, her opponent throws her club at Rinka, which the latter dodges. What now? She's actually throwing her weapon? Our girl's mistake is that she took her eyes off her opponent because the next thing she knew, Bikini Babe was about to punch the living daylights out of Rinka. Only it didn't happen. Bikini Babe hits an earth wall instead. She remains unfazed and already has her attention on Rent's alleged sneak attack. The girl falls back just in time for Rent to hit the very earth wall he just made. Rinka pokes her head out of the earth wall, seeing how Rent had also joined the fight. But our hero's focus is on Bikini Babe, telling her that his gift is unlimited magical storage, which is an SSS-ranked gift. If she wants to prove her strength, then she'll have to face both of them together. Instead of worrying, the girl got even more excited. She starts cracking her first because if she defeats them both, then that would make her an SSS rank adventurer. Girl, what? How'd she come up with that? Rent and Rinka question her logic, but the girl makes a dash for it and heads straight to them. She understands it now and targets the messy-haired mage, believing that a close-range attack would finish him quickly. She balls her fist, ready to punch and kill him in one blow, but to her shock, he didn't even budge. Instead, Rent stood his ground and used spirit enhancement, making the girl stop dead in her tracks. He quickly follows it up with Earth Wall, then sends her flying in the air using water flow. The falling meteorite party, as well as everybody else, watched the girl high up before she came crashing down straight into the Earth Wall. As the dust starts to settle, Rent and Rinka walk over to check on her and flinch when they see that she's still up. However, the girl's already too worn down, in pain and also hungry. The duo stares at her before exchanging looks, and the next thing we know, they're already feeding Miss Barbarian. They check her parchment, confirming what they knew all along. Shiryu really doesn't have any gifts. But that doesn't sound right. Aren't gifts granted to everyone during the coming-of-age ritual? Roger tells Rent that there are some who never received a gift. It's a pretty rare occurrence, but it does happen. Shiryu finally speaks and tells them that, for as long as she can remember, she has always been an outcast. People mocked her for not having a gift, which is why she trained harder than all of them until she became stronger. From there, she beat every single person who laughed at her. Upon hearing that, Rent admits that if he were in her shoes and lived without a gift, he would have broken down a long time ago. He smiles and tells her how amazing she is. Shiryu obviously has never received a compliment before and brushed it off. She doesn't find herself amazing because she just lost to this messy-haired guy. It's infuriating for her. Besides, she wants to know what this unlimited magical storage is because it's the first time she has ever heard of such a gift. Shiryu is all over Rent again, and as angry as she is with him, she can't help but be curious about it. Rinka steps in between them again, telling Shiryu not to bother Rent. Shiryu sneers at her. She's pretty much unbothered by Rinka because she knows that if her fist had connected with Rinka back then, Shiryu would have been the winner during their fight. Well, if that's the case, Rinka suggests they settle the score with a one-on-one match after this. Of course, Shiryu is more than happy to accept the challenge, with Rent trying to calm them down. Namilia curiously asks Rent if Rinka had always been this fierce, to which our hero said she just started being like that yesterday. He reveals to them that because he wasn't paying any attention yesterday, he bumped into Misa, instantly earning a click of the tongue from Roger. That witch! From what he understands, Rent thinks that Rinka still feels guilty about what happened, which explains why she's being kind of overprotective of him. Namilia only hums and looks at both Shiryu and Rinka, bickering before telling Rent that she thinks there's another reason why Rinka is acting like that. Both Roger and Namilia grin at Rent, but of course, Rent is the typical main character who is pretty clueless about these things. At the other table where Jean, Foga, and Comet are seated, the three talk about Rent's table. Over there, they have two SSS rank adventurers, a brave warrior without a gift, and of course Roger, the leader of their party. Jean is not too surprised that it's only natural that interesting and notable people gather around him, a sentiment Foga shares. They both think he seems like the type of person who naturally draws people to them. But Jean does wonder about unlimited magical storage. He turns to Comet, asking her what she would do if she could use as much magical energy as she wanted. Without batting an eyelash, Comet tells him dead on that she'd take over the world. He expected just as much, with Foga telling her off not to answer with violence right away. Jean looks at Rent and can only wish that only remarkable and interesting people would gather around him as well. Just then, a guild rep walks over to Roger, apologizing for interrupting their meal. She tells them that they had just received a request from another guild branch, asking if the Falling Meteor Party could take on a monster extermination mission. Roger apologizes and turns down the request, saying their party wants to focus on exploring the labyrinth for a while. The guild rep understands when, suddenly, Rent cuts into their conversation, asking Roger if they could take on this mission instead. So that request, can Rent's party take care of it? Roger can only, just as Namilia points out something. Isn't Rent's team kind of in the middle of raiding the dungeon right now? Rent turns serious, making both Roger and Namilia look at him in anticipation. With that, our protagonist revealed to them everything about his gift. Of course, you can imagine Roger and the others' reaction upon knowing the 7 deadly sins mark. Rent explains that he is greed, while Rinka is wrath. Given their situation, the two of them want to spread their names across the world so they can meet the gifted people who embody the remaining 5 sins. It's like suddenly we're in a Full Metal Alchemist crossover, am I right? So it's like that, huh? Namilia thinks that it's a pretty annoying fate to have picked up, but Comet is more wrapped up about Rent's special ability, jamming her index finger on his cheek. If they consider that a special ability, then she has one too. Roger thinks it will be a lot of fun though, so without a moment's hesitation he turns to the guild rep and asks if he can entrust this mission to Rent and his team. Of course, the latter is taken aback, then points out that Roger is not the one who gets to decide that. But the Meteor Shower leader has already decided. He'll just sign his name and leave it at that. Isn't that fine? With that, the guild rep says she'll consult with the summit for a bit. Roger is already signing the request with his name and gives Rent a heads up that this mission may not end with just simply killing monsters. Even so, he thinks this will be a good experience for our protagonist. With that, he's done signing. Roger hopes Rent will succeed safely, encouraging them to get their names known. Rent couldn't be more thankful for this chance and Roger's support. The next day, Rent and Rinka are already on board the carriage while Jean and Namilia bid them goodbye. The latter is already looking forward to drinking with Rent again once he comes back, while Roger stands watching them from the side. Foga approaches him, asking their leader if he's really serious about this. After all, this was originally a combat request for their party, the Meteor Shower. If anything, Foga thinks it's a lot more complicated than that. Meanwhile, Rent is fighting for his life, trying to catch a breath with his face smooshed against Namilia's chest. But back to Roger and Foga, the former asks if Foga has thought about the fact that he may just be blowing things out of proportion. That shut Foga up, as Roger continued that he wanted to see the fate of the one who crawled up from the depths to rise again. Roger grins, remembering what Rent said about his gift, the 7 deadly sins mark. Soon after, the Rent's carriage set off. Inside, he and Rinka sit opposite 2 elves who start reporting the details of the request. Their client is Count Willard, who rules the neighboring territory. The request requires them to fight the monsters in Shadowbell Forest, which is located within the Count's domain. Along with this, they will also carry out an investigation of the surrounding areas. There is also a small village beside the forest, so Rent can use that as the base of their operations for their activities. Okay, he got all of that. That's when the elves ask him who the summit he mentioned is, pointing to the roof of the carriage as they say so. Huh? What summit? He exchanges looks with Rinka. Wait, are they referring to? And their gut was right. Rent checks the roof of the carriage and sees Shiryu is sitting pretty there. The girl even had the gall to call him messy hair again. Rent can't believe it. She really came with them. Well, of course she did. Because according to Shiryu, their fight isn't settled yet, and she's not going anywhere until she defeats him. Rent counters that the results had already been decided, hadn't they? But does this girl plan to keep going at it until she wins? The coachman cuts their conversation short, exclaiming that there are creatures appearing on the front lines. True enough, 2 humanoid monsters that look are blocking their way, but not for long. A club came flying and smashed the other's face. Cut to the next panel, there's Shiryu standing over their carcass. Victory! The bikini girl is bragging about how strong she is again. Meanwhile, the others eye her strangely from the carriage. They can't believe the monsters were taken out in a second. Well, the elves have no idea about her, but since she's useful, they're letting her accompany them. After traveling for a while, the scenery changed from dense forest to an open field, and soon enough they found themselves in a rural area with wooden cabins. The people see the cart approaching as expected. The carriage stops in front of 2 villagers, with the girl welcoming the members of the Meteor Shower party. But she's looking at a boy, a girl, and a scantily clad muscle woman. Rent, for one, returns to the greeting, saying they're honored to be here. The other villager turns to the armored girl, asking if they're the famed Meteor Shower they've heard about. But the girl is already frowning because these people are not the meteor shower party. Rent takes this chance to introduce themselves as Double Deviation, and says that they came on behalf of the meteor shower. He hands the girl the letter of recommendation from Roger, which she takes and inspects. After reading the content, she finally smiles and tells Rent that on behalf of the guild, there's no problem. She introduces herself as Lout, a clerk at the settlement branch office. Meanwhile, the guy beside her is Bosco, the village mayor. Rent and Rinka introduce themselves in turn, while Lout eyes the large woman in a bikini next to them. Well, who is she? Rent just tells her that this is Shiryu, their escort. Huh? Escort? Is it normal for an escort to keep calling out monsters? Anyway, they head inside, where a meal is already waiting for them. Lout says the dishes are made from the village's harvest. Shiryu is already gobbling up the food like there's no tomorrow, while Rinka is at least more graceful about it. Rent thanks them, appreciative of how the villagers are exerting themselves for them. Now on to business. Rent asks Bosco about the forest monsters. The mayor begins by saying Shadowbell Forest was just an ordinary forest like any other, but recently savage monsters have taken up residence there. What's more, they've also started attacking the village's crops, even the villagers themselves. Is that so? There was a pregnant pause as they both stared at each other awkwardly. Bosco must have read what Rent was thinking, because the older man can't help but notice how "It would have been better if you'd left this dangerous village and gone" is written on our protagonist's face. Rent panics a bit. It's not like that at all. Another villager chimes in, saying they founded this village. For many years they toiled the land with difficulty until finally they were able to live off its produce, so how could they just abandon it? And that's when they dropped the bomb. They are the unblessed. What? Rent and Rinka didn't expect that. The villager continues that the world is very harsh to those without a blessing, while another adds that they had no choice but to gather together, them and the other unblessed, and live united. Rent still can't believe it. Are they really unblessed? Bosco confirms that it is so, but from what Rinka heard, being unblessed is something rare, isn't it? The first villager just chuckled. Bet they didn't expect that they were unblessed, no? To ordinary people, they're the kind who don't even enter their line of sight. Bosco had to reel in the other villager from talking like that, saying it would be rude toward the contracting parties. Rent feels troubled because after all the hospitality they've given the party, the atmosphere has gotten so heavy. Rent changes the topic, saying that they actually have a companion girl they brought earlier who is also unblessed, but when they turn to look at Shiryu, she's gone from her seat. Eh? Wasn't she just there a moment ago? Did Shiryu go to the restroom? Outside, Shiryu's already running through the forest because after eating, she's hell-bent on destroying everything. That darn woman. Rent can't believe she's that crazy to head into the forest all by herself. Even Lout is stressed because Shiryu even dared to do this on a night like this. It's suicide. She turns to Rent. Isn't he the leader? They're party members, right? It was Rinka who clarified that they're not members to begin with. Rent dashes to the door, saying she'll bring Shiryu back ASAP. Lout can't believe it. Is he going into the forest too? Rinka apologizes on behalf of her partner, saying that's just how Rent is. With that, she runs after Rent. She's coming too. Lout grabs her helmet and puts it on, annoyed that they've just arrived and trouble is already starting. What a mess. Outside, it didn't take long for Rent to see traces of Shiryu's work. Just look at that monster over there. There are cudgel strike marks. Looking at the chaos before them just proves that Shiryu really did enter the forest. Lout asks if they have any idea where she is, and Rent says he can by using aura sense. With that, he can pinpoint her approximate location. Rent closes his eyes and activates the skill, and immediately he finds out where Shiryu is. He points the others in the direction where Shiryu is. Thankfully, she's still alive. But suddenly, the radar is filled with multiple dots from all directions as he feels shivers run down his body. Rinka asks what it is, and before he can answer, a worm-like monster appears from behind. What the hell is that? Lout says it's an Annabelle, but she has never seen one this big. Rent quickly steps up and uses 5 fireballs on the monster. They wait anxiously for the smoke to settle, but to their shock, the monster is still alive and about to devour them. Thankfully, Rinka quickly cuts through the monster before it can eat them all. The halved Annabelle falls with a thud. Crap, it's still moving. Lout tells her not to worry and they should keep going. Rent remains frozen where he stands. He can't believe it. Magic didn't affect that monster. That's when MP popped up and said that the monster most likely resisted the magic. It seems like a monster that first level spells won't work on. If the damage is 0, even if he casts hundreds of times, it stays 0. That's the issue. Rent is dumbfounded. For the first time in a long while, Rent feels powerless because the monsters in this forest have strength unlike anything he has faced before. Rinka pats him on the back and tells him that she'll clear the way for them. She winks and says she's the attacker on the team, telling him that he doesn't have to carry everything by himself. That snapped some sense into him, apologizing for his near crash out. This time, Rinka leads them as they run across the forest to ensure that Shiryu is safe. They encountered more strange-looking worms as they pressed on. One of them attacks Rinka, which she easily evades and then proceeds to cut down. Rent informs them that Shiryu is up ahead, and soon they see their companion lying unconscious on the ground. They call out to her, with Rinka checking to see if she's okay. The latter whimpers in pain, so Rent approaches her, saying he'll heal her with recovery magic. Laut feels a presence from behind and turns just in time to block the monster's attack. However, the enemy fights back with 2 more of their tentacles, which Rent protects her from using Earth Wall. While carrying Shiryu on his back, he tells the others they should fall back immediately. The 3 of them run through the forest the same way they came, also encountering many other monsters of varying kinds. The creatures only stared at Rent, but it was enough to give him chills all the way through. The next day, Shiryu finally regains consciousness. Rinka is the first person she sees, with the former asking how she's feeling. Shiryu sits up abruptly, asking where the monster is, before she feels the pain in her bandaged shoulder. Rinka urges her to rest since she's still in pain, but Shiryu wants to know if Rinka is the one who saved her. The female swordsman says she is, adding that they've been looking for her. Laut came in carrying a basin just in time for Rinka to introduce her. Since Shiryu is still listening, Rinka also takes this opportunity to tell her not to act recklessly alone anymore. Rent sits at the table when Bosco approaches him. "How is the forest?" the mayor asks. Our protagonist admits that when they listened to the village chief, they thought some monsters had come from somewhere and built a colony in the forest. If they destroyed it, he thought the problem would be solved, but as it turns out, the solution isn't that simple. He used his aura detection skill, and though it doesn't cover a wide range, Rent knows for sure that at least within that forest, the situation is so dangerous that monsters are crawling everywhere. Later, Rent sits by himself under a tree. Well, not totally by himself, but with MP on his side. He purchases Firestorm, which costs him 100,000 MP. He sighs because all that magical power he had saved up ran out in an instant. Poof! But that's how it is, says MP. Advanced magic is extremely expensive, and to grow stronger, he needs to save more and more magical energy. Currently, MP's sources of income are natural recovery, forced extraction from Rinka, and forced extraction from the Foolish Trio. To efficiently purchase advanced magic, MP suggests he must recruit more debtors. New debtors, huh? Rent hasn't even thought of that. She assures him that he can do that because on that day, the infinite magic storage evolved. Later that night, Rent received a new prompt from his role while he was out with Rinka. This one reads Missagale. It converts the skills and gifts of 3 targeted individuals into magical energy and allocates it toward repayment. The surplus collected will be converted into repayment of the principal debt. With this, they have completed the compulsory execution procedures for today. Upon hearing all that, Rinka finally understands what Rent meant by settlement back then. Rent kind of already foresaw that those 3 guys couldn't generate enough magical energy to pay him back. Suddenly, another prompt appears informing him that skill growth conditions have been met. His skill, Magic Lending, has risen from level 2 to level 3. MP pops out with a confetti popper, congratulating Rent for his level up. Wait, what's happening? And MP looks completely drained. She assures him that she's fine, but on to more important matters. Since the gift leveled up, it's now possible to lend magical energy even to people outside the party. This means he can now lend magical energy to anyone in this entire world. Rent shares this new achievement with the villagers, explaining that this is his gift, infinite magic storage. With a power like this, Shiryu is the first to ask if she can also borrow magic. MP pops out and reveals herself to Shiryu, explaining that whether someone has a gift or not doesn't affect their ability to borrow. Everybody can see MP now, so she introduces herself as the Gift Fairy. With all attention on her, she explains that each of them has internal magical energy. Have they ever felt fatigue or total exhaustion? You know that sensation of having absolutely no strength left. That's because they unconsciously consume magical energy every day. At those times, if they borrow magical energy, they'll instantly regain their vitality, and their productivity will surely increase. Now then, to better understand what she's saying, a proper demonstration should be in order. MP turns to Shiryu, asking for her scroll. The latter hands it over, and MP takes it to feed it to Mr. Piggy. Rent's trusted piggy bank starts to swallow it, and a moment later, the scroll pops out of the coin insert. With that, the contract hasn't been completed. MP hands Shiryu's scroll back to her. The latter spots that there's something colorful printed on it. MP explains that the color of the border indicates trust level and that it starts as silver. Rinka fishes for her own scroll while MP continues that as their repayment record grows, their rank and lending terms improve. Rinka points out that hers is different from the one she borrowed. For her case, MP says because she is a member of Rent's party, her lending trust is guaranteed. With that, they start with a little trial loan of 100 MP to Shiryu. She instantly feels the power surge through her. But before MP can explain the repayment interest, Shiryu is already running out through that door. Miss Bikini's already fired up that she can finally get revenge for those forest monsters. Rinka panics, and just when she said Shiryu shouldn't go back to the forest alone, Rent approaches Lout, explaining that the tasks of monster extermination and forest exploration are too much for the three of them, which is why they'd like to request reinforcements. She understands and sends a word out to all the guilds. Oh, and one more thing. Rent asks if she can also help promote his power, and that's how those poorly drawn posters of Rent's job ads spread across the land. Of course, many people became interested in this magic lending job ad that's seen throughout the country. Adventurers gather around, with many claiming how they've heard rumors before about someone lending magical energy. But doesn't that sound a bit too shady? A little girl squeezes her way in front of the crowd and looks at the job ad. Also curious about this magical lending gig. Before long, the once calm village is now flooding with adventurers who have come interested to avail themselves of this magical lending they've heard of. Bosco's not too surprised by the influx of adventurers in his humble village. Still, the numbers are far less than what Shiryu expected. Rinka thinks that maybe the advertisement wasn't enough. Rent arrives and welcomes the adventurers to the settlement village. He introduces himself as the holder of the gift, Infinite Magic Storage. They crowd around him, surprised that the magic lender is actually this short little guy. Now that everyone's here, he suggests they take a ticket and wait for their turn so he can guide them one by one. The first is the knockoff version of Shikamaru. Proclaiming how he started his life as an adventurer this year, he wants to use magic to the fullest and become the strongest ever. Rent is happy to hear that. In fact, he wants to help him achieve that goal together. So for this one, they'll start with the silver rank. Rent will lend him an amount suited to his repayment ability. For the next one, this particular adventurer came bursting in and demanding that Rent lend him all the magical energy he has. Well, before anything else, Rent asks if this guy has a clear repayment plan. Obviously he doesn't. This dude even has the balls to tell Rent to shut up, saying he'll make sure to repay our guy someday for sure. That's when the guy heard a voice ask him if he knew about the Skycleaving sword. The man turns in the direction of the voice. There goes MP, floating creepily about with that scary look on her face. She details how the Skycleaving sword is. These guys turned out to be terrible debtors. Anyway, those guys tried to evade repayment, so she carried out forced collection. She seized their everything, their skills and gifts, and forced them to pay. With a devilish grin, she's suddenly all over the dude's face, warning him that anyone who underestimates the magic lender will see hell. Well, at least it's nice to see MP is enjoying herself. The next adventurer Rent entertains is this little girl, who already feels apologetic because she feels so out of place. Rent assures her that everyone is welcome here. Would she also like to take out a magic loan? The girl tells them that her gift is plant seed synthesis, so she thought that if she borrowed magic, her plant research could progress. Rent happily tells her that it's more than possible. Suddenly, the girl is all giddy when she hears his answer. Right now, she's researching the ultimate potato, one that's resistant to cold and drought that can be harvested in any soil. It's the dream potato. Now she's a little too close for comfort, so he just tells her he'll listen to the details of her research later. The other adventurers are also briefed on Rent's gift, but there's only one question they have to ask. After borrowing the magic, can they really use it? One of them asks Lout if there's a job where he can try out this magic right away. He wants to test the energy he borrowed. Well, Lout knows just the thing. They head straight to the forest where these adventurers start killing the monsters. This is incredible. No matter how much magic they use, it doesn't run out. That's when a surprise monster sneaked up on one of them, hitting the adventurer square in the face. Rent rushes over to him to ask if he's okay while the others finish the job. The adventurer from before asks what the hell is up with this forest. It's full of dangerous monsters. Rent thinks the strength level of these monsters is equal to the 6th floor of the Great Melva Labyrinth. The first guy can't believe it, the 6th floor. But the second guy's not too surprised that their strength equals that of a weak rank B adventurer. Lout notices that the sun is starting to set. They should end today's run and return to the village. At the cabin, Rent can't believe what he's hearing. Are the villagers really set on abandoning the village? Bosco says he discussed it with all the villagers just now. They never realized how the forest had become so dangerous. But this is the precious village that they built together. Isn't that what he said before? Bosco says it's fine, they can just start over somewhere else. Plus, he also doesn't want to put them all in danger. Potato Girl from before lets out a heavy sigh. What a shame. It took her many years to prepare the soil to grow these crops, and now they're abandoning the land like this. It's such a huge loss, at least from her perspective. Well, if that's what they decided, so be it. Rent tells Bosco that they shouldn't worry about them. They're well aware that this is a dangerous profession. That's just the life of adventurers. Most of all, he just doesn't want to give up just yet. If they continue exploring the forest, they might discover the reason these monsters are overflowing. Outside, a lone figure approaches their cabin. Rinka feels a shiver run through her, something Shiryu quickly notices. Is there something wrong? The former brushes it off, saying it's nothing. That's when the door to the cabin opened, and standing right there was the long, white-haired dude with the dried lips clutching the job ad in his hand. He looked straight at Rent, asking if our guy can lend him a little magic. While the moon shone brightly in the forest, something started attacking the monsters, impaling them in its woody vines before taking them to a single giant bud that had yet to bloom in the middle of the forest. Back at the cabin, everyone's attention is directed to the long-haired man standing at the door. The man looks at the poorly drawn poster in his hand, then turns his focus to Rent, asking if he's the one pictured. As soon as Rent said yes, this guy zooms in on our hero, asking if he's really going to lend him some magical power. Rent says he will, but only within the limits that won't exhaust him at first. The guy clutches the poster in his hand, and we cut to the next scene where Rent reads through the guy's scroll. This dude's name is Van Gee, and he's a flutist. A flutist, huh? Interesting. This is the first time Rinka has ever seen such a gift. But the more interesting aspect of Van Gee's gift is his skill, monster control. At that, Van Gee shows them his flute, explaining that with the sound of his flute, he can make monsters lose the will to fight. Everybody turns to look at one another. This can only mean one thing. Rent tells him right then and there that he works in this village as a lender of magical power, and also doubles as the protector of this village from the monsters. Van Gee knows about that too. He had already heard about it from the guild. If he uses his power, Van Gee thinks he'll be useful to everyone here. With this power, he wants to bring a smile to people's faces because that's his dream. Hearing that made Rent smile, so without further ado, our guy went ahead and lent him 100 MP first with an interest of 10%. With a natural recovery rate of 6 MP per hour, Van Gee should be able to repay it in about half a day, maybe a little more. Rent and Van Gee shook hands, with the latter thanking him. But our hero is just as grateful for Van Gee's cooperation. The other villagers took to Van Gee, urging him to have some of the dishes they prepared since he must be tired from his journey. Meanwhile, Rinka notices that MP is pretty quiet on the side, reading Van Gee's scroll. The little fairy snickers to herself, thinking what an interesting gift this man has. Outside, Van Gee displays his gift and plays the flute. Soon enough, the monster stopped and listened to him play. They approach him while Van Gee pets them, assuring the monsters that he won't hurt them. Holy hell, the rest of the adventurers can't believe what they're seeing. He really tamed the monster lot. Shiryu's the only one unhappy about all of this. Boring. That's when Van Gee tells her that monsters don't attack for fun. They only do it to secure food, protect their shelter, or just plain struggle to survive. She can only tut at what he said when suddenly one of the centipede-like monsters scurries away from them, quickly followed by the others. What the heck just happened? They wonder if Van Gee's powers had already rubbed off when Rent notices something approaching them from a distance. He calls everyone's attention as a horde of monsters is running their way. Rinka gets ready, and Shiryu couldn't be more excited. Finally, the fun starts now. Van Gee informs Rent that with this many monsters, his powers won't be enough to control them. Our hero says it's fine. He'll be the one to interfere with their lot. The horde continues to advance on them much faster, with Rent telling everyone he'll leave the extermination to them. Thank goodness he recently bought high-level fire magic. With this, he can finally deal some damage. Or not. To their surprise, the horde ran past them, fully ignoring their group. Hey, it's like these monsters are actually fleeing from something. Rent and the others dash to the opposite direction to see what these monsters are running from. Soon, their group sees a lot of monster carcasses everywhere. What's curious about their corpses is that they've been devoured from the inside. Rinka turns to Rent and he tells them that if they investigate further, they may find the reason behind the monster's madness. From above, something sinister sneaks onto them, and before long, all of them finally look up and see it. A giant monster shaped like a bunch of grapes. Shiryu tells them that it's that one, that very same monster that defeated her before. The grape monster uses its tentacles to lash at them, hurting Van Gee and the others as it does so. Rinka cuts the vines, warning everyone that they attack fiercely. However, if they can block the vines, then they can counter them. Shiryu warns her not to underestimate it because the vines aren't its only weapon. Meanwhile, Rent rushes over to Van Gee's side to check if he's okay. The latter apologizes because, aside from playing music, he's pretty much useless at everything else. While Rinka and the others fight off the monster, Rent takes this chance to heal Van Gee's wounds. That's when the eye on the grape gives a signal, quickly followed by a bud sprouting just beside Rent. Those are seeds! Shiryu shouts a warning to Rent to watch his head because they're aiming for it. No sooner had she said that than the grape eyes started firing their seeds at Rent and Van Gee. Our hero quickly used Ice Wall to shield them from the attacks, but the grape eyes were relentless. Rent asks Van Gee if he can move, and when the latter says he can, the two of them jump out of the way, just in time to evade the vine attack that destroyed Rent's ice wall. Rent tells everyone that they need to fall back for now. The group took cover among the trees, keeping an eye out for the giant floating grape monster ahead. With vines like whips and a hail of seeds, how are they even supposed to kill this thing? Rent is also assessing the grape monster, and from the looks of it, he believes its weak point is the vines connecting the body to the main trunk. Rinka volunteers to cut it if it means defeating the monster, but the question is, how do they reach vines that high? Shiryu, who has been quietly listening all this time, has a determined look on her face. She comes out of their hiding spot and starts taunting the grape monster. "Hey bastard, remember me?" she cried. She walks straight into the monster, saying this is her revenge. If she's trying to get the grape monster riled up, congrats, because she did it. The monster uses its vines to attack her, leaving Rent to call out to Shiryu to watch out. But to their shock, Shiryu grabbed both vines and held them in place. What in the Herculean effort is that? With a shout, she starts twisting the vines quickly, and as soon as it was wrapped up, she calls Rinka. "The floor is yours." The latter is quick on her feet and runs straight to the cluster head of the grapes through the vines. Since the grape monster couldn't move, it took Rinka one quick but powerful move to cut the cluster head from the main vine. The grape monster's head came crashing to the ground while Rinka fell right on top of Rent. They smile at each other before Shiryu comes boasting about how amazing she was, still holding one of the vines in her hand. Instead of feeling angry, Rinka rides along with Shiryu's boast. Well, wasn't she amazing too? The two girls finally start bickering about who's the better one, while the rest of the guys cheer that they're both amazing. Well done! Rent's just happy to see that they're finally getting along. Van Guy, on the other hand, walks over to the grape monster cluster, trying to get a better look at it when he hears a buzzing sound from the side. He turns to see there's a figure there, and upon closer inspection, it's a long-haired girl with talon-like hands and feet, munching on the grapehead monster's eyes. The strange girl continues to munch on the fruit while Rent and the others look on. Obviously, seeing this girl is the last thing they expect to encounter here in the forest of all places, especially since she's by herself. Rent approaches her carefully and asks where she came from. The girl turns back and points to the back of the forest. "From deep inside the forest?" Rent asks. Shiryu, on the other hand, is staring intently as the girl continues to eat her fruit. "That looks delicious," she says, her mouth salivating seeing how the latter devours her food. "I walked a lot, so now I'm hungry." Rent steps in, reminding her that the fruit is not actually a fruit. It was the grape monster from before, remember? But Shiryu's already so enticed, given how the fruit also has a sweet smell. Rinka even chimes in, "What if it's poisonous or something?" she quips. The strange girl finally stops and stares at Shiryu before handing her the grape. "Inochi," she says with a smile, prompting Shiryu to ask if she was giving the fruit to her. That gesture only reinforced the idea in Shiryu's head that she should eat it. "Look, she's even telling me to eat it," she tells the others. Suddenly, the girl's hands turned into claw-like vines that almost clamped Shiryu whole and crushed her if she didn't manage to move away in the last minute. "What the hell do you think you're doing, you bastard?" But the girl ignores her and starts attacking everyone instead, using her hair as whips, lashing out at everyone. Rent warns everyone to look out while the girl retracts her hair and licks the blood off it. "Okay, creepy much?" Thankfully, everyone was quick on their feet and assumed defensive positions. Rent instantly activates his body enhancement and auto-recharge, giving everyone the green light to give it everything they've got since he's got their magic covered. This time, the girl uses her hands as vines to attack them, but since everyone was prepared, they managed to block off her attack with their own. Shiryu uses that chance to jump in and cut her vines, but the little freak is pretty agile. She manages to knock out the two adventurers whilst running away, but not on Rinka's watch. Our resident lady samurai quickly advances to cut off the girl, but the latter barely evades Rinka's attacks while saying, "Inochi." She goes for the kill and drives her arm straight to Rinka, but the latter is faster and sends the girl's head and arm rolling on the ground. Her still smiling head rolls over in front of Van Guy, while Rent and the others rush over to Rinka. "Good work, Rinka!" Our MC cheers, but Rinka, as usual, thinks she's far from good enough. Admittedly, she tells them that she hesitated because their enemy looked human, leaving her defense open. "I need to become stronger," she says, while the headless body of the girl gets up from behind Rinka. The latter instantly feels it, with the creepy girl regenerating her head. There was the sound of snapping wood as she tried to resume her previous form, but she didn't finish it and proceeded to drive her arm vine to the ground. From there, she uses it to spike the others, leaving many of them injured. Rinka manages to evade the surprise attack and goes straight to cut practically half of the girl's body. But to Rinka's horror, the freak is still moving. "No way, the attacks aren't affecting her," Rinka cried just as the girl's vines wrapped around the lady samurai's body. Just as this vine freak was about to crush Rinka, a hand taps on her back. She turns to see that it's Rent, and our MC unleashes his blazing fire tornado on her. By this time, the girl has everybody in a chokehold with her vines, including Rinka and Shiryu, and then manages to entrap Rent as well. "Inochi, coup!" the girl says while still being blazed. Seeing she won't go down easily, Rent decides to unleash an even deadlier attack. "Triple fire tornado!" There was a whirlwind of fire tornadoes, but soon they were gone as Rent looked at the charred remains of the girl, which honestly made her look like Groot. That should do it. Shiryu's all over Rent again, still calling him unkempt hair, but at least she acknowledges our hero's efforts, whom she also considers her rival. The seriousness of Rinka's question suddenly overtakes Shiryu's upbeat mood. This monster, what exactly was it? She asks. Compared to the other monsters they fought in the forest, this one was on a completely different level. Now that Rinka mentions it, Rent remembers the girl told them before that she came from deep inside the forest, didn't she? Let's go see what's there first, he suggests. Their group dives deeper into the forest, and before long they see carcasses of different monsters that are either impaled or bound by large vines and stalks. The whole area is practically covered in stalks and vines. Rinka also notices the carcasses of the monsters here and there, while the other older adventurer with them comments that it was a huge carnivorous plant. Rent deduces that all these monsters were running away from this. The kid who was with them feels a little jittery, saying they might get eaten if they stay there for too long. Unlike him, Shiryu stomps on the vines and points out that nothing is moving there at all. That's when they finally spot the giant bud, sticking out like a sore thumb in the middle of it all. It's huge to say the least, but it's big enough that one person can fit inside. I have a bad feeling, let's take a closer look, Rent suggests to them with twinkling eyes. Before the others can even say or do something, Rinka tells them that he loves this sort of thing. Rent, be careful, she calls out to him from behind as he approaches the bud. Once he's within reach of the strange object, he touches it, noticing that it's more of a cocoon than a bud. From the side, he notices an opening and peeks inside to find that it's completely empty. Something was obviously growing inside there and came out through the opening. Wait a minute, this reminds him of their interaction with the girl earlier. Could it be that the monster-shaped girl from before was the one growing inside the cocoon? Huh, that makes sense, as Rinka pieced together that she kept devouring the forest's monsters through those vines, which allowed her to grow. The old man adds that the monsters of the forest were driven out of their homes because the plant kept spreading until eventually it even started to appear close to the new village. And we took that thing that was born from that plant, Shiryu proudly adds. Well, since they've pretty much pieced together everything that happened, Ren suggests they hurry back to the village and tell the elder what happened. That way the monsters of the forest can also return to normal. But Rinka notices something else. Vangi is not here. Now that she mentions it, their new friend is nowhere in sight. So where is Vangi? Vangi sits by himself under the tree, holding the head of the monster-shaped girl. You're thinking the same thing, right? He asks the smiling head. Because of the existence of gifts in this world, people fight and end up miserable. He pulls a strand off the monster's head, muttering about how they can't just say that this is fate. He stares at the strand, and from there, tiny leaves start growing. We're not strong enough to accept something like that, he says to no one in particular. Meanwhile, back at Rent and the others, they call out to Vangi when suddenly MP calls Rent. When he asks what it was, the fairy tells him that there's something inside the bud. Both of them peek inside, and Rent finds something stuck at the bottom. Is it a letter? He stares at it, and his eyes widen in shock. Back to Vangi. He asks the monster head if she will help him too, so that I can make my dream come true, Vangi says. Rent is actually looking at a torn-up status parchment. That is the end of the recap at Chapter 25. Please read the pinned comment about the next part.